Perfect. So, Justin, I appreciate you taking the time. For those who don't know, you're running for sheriff down in Wapaka County. And I first got onto you because before my mom passed, she ended up sending me a bunch of your stuff and was like, you should have this guy on your podcast because the stuff you were putting out there was garnering a lot of views. It was getting crazy and it almost seemed fictitious. I'm just curious because I want to get down to the bottom of this and better understand what's going on because we've chatted off camera and everything else. But I want to better understand and kind of get your voice out there because I'm going to put this out there publicly. I'm willing to have Wills on to say his side of the story because I haven't heard, but yours has been very documented. And I'm not picking a side in the whole thing because I'm from Wausau. Mm-hmm. Yep. But it's like, yours has been very documented, and I want to better understand what's going on in Wapaka and what's going on exactly in this messed up situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. I was going to say, first of all, thank you for having me on. I've seen some of your stuff. I know we were talking off camera, but some of the stuff you have done that I've watched is very professional and informative. So I appreciate that. Second of all, yes, it has garnished a lot of views, and like you said, it's documented.
Yeah.
Everything that I will ever put out there or will ever say is documented.
Yeah.
And I know we'll probably get more into this, but I think the reason why it's getting so much attention and why it's getting the views that it has been is because nobody's ever called this out before. There's so many different issues here, that we could talk about that shouldn't belong in politics and shouldn't belong in law enforcement. Period. So that's just kind of.
Because, for those who don't know, like, when you're looking at politics, there's certain positions that are partisan, meaning that there's certain positions you do have to pick a side. You have to pick a party, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green, Tea Party, Independent, whatever the case may be. And there's some positions that aren't, like city council, mayors, like that kind of stuff is not. You don't have to pick a party. They actually don't give you the option to pick a party. Sheriff is one of the ones that is partisan, where you do have to pick a party.
Why? And that's one big thing, and I would love to have this discussion with you and with anybody else. Why? Because and this is where my whole slogan comes from, people over politics. People get this confused, by the way. I just had a post today where somebody was commenting, and they get it confused. They make a comment about how, well, if you're people over politics.
Yeah.
People over politics comes from if you vote for me, or if you don't vote for me, you're going to be treated the same way. You're going to be treated with respect, with love, dignity, all those things that everybody deserves to be treated. Just like, we're all raised to be treated, treat
the golden rule, right?
The golden rule, treat the person the way that you'd want to be treated. And that's exactly where people over politics comes from, because regardless if you vote Republican, regardless if you vote Democrat, Independent, Green Party, Tea Party, all the different things, Libertarian, you're going to be treated the same.
Yeah.
Bigger one, ready? Bigger one. If you voted for me or not. That's one thing that nobody's ever heard of in local politics around here, where the person that I'm attacking is still going to be there for me and support me and actually care about me.
Yeah.
You don't see that. If you get attacked in politics today, what do you hear about? Revenge. It's all about revenge. It's all about holding a grudge and, oh God, now we're going to have to leave or quit and hop departments or move to a different job or get elected somewhere, whatever, because you don't want them coming after you. Mm-hmm. Where have you seen someone who doesn't give a? Can I swear in this?
I really don't give a damn. Go for it.
Where have you seen where people don't give a shit? I don't give a shit about whether or not you voted for me or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just unheard of in politics in general, but specifically in small town politics and with law enforcement.
That's the hard part with small towns. And we'll kind of dive into that because there's a different dynamic. It's like if you're a kid running around getting in trouble, like you don't just get your ass reamed out by your parents. Bobby and Susie own the department store downtown were the ones that found you. And you better go start kissing ass. Like, that's kind of how it goes. And it's a completely different dynamic than most people realize. But I guess I want to jump back and I want to, because most people don't know you. And we talked off camera about how you were raised. Who are you? Introduce yourself. Like, who,
sure.
How were you raised and everything?
I appreciate that.
You betcha.
So I am 33 years old. I'm from the Caroline area, if you know where that little town is. It's up by Marion, Clintonville area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I got to interject for a second.
Yeah.
There was actually a bar up there, and I remember when I used to play in a band, they ended up and there was the one gig I missed. They ended up having a bar fight because one guy looked at another guy's wife, and it turned into this whole.
Was it during the Colorama? Caroline Lions Colorama?
I don't remember.
Legion?
I don't know. I don't remember the place.
Because there was a call that happened, because I work EMS. And
Okay.
I volunteer with the Lions Club up there.
Oh, no kidding.
And we have a huge event that makes a lot of money for the community every year. And that's literally what happened. It was a bar fight. Looked at another man's woman.
Might have been that one, actually.
There was like 8 squad cars that raced from the music festival down to the bar. That's
Might have been.
But so Caroline's where I was raised, and ended up being raised by a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was kind of in the picture off and on there in the very beginning, but I really don't have a relationship with him. My mom's parents and my grandma and grandpa were kind of like second parents to me. My grandpa was like my dad. Actually, I'd wear his necklace wherever I go. He passed away a few years ago, but he was a Marine. So that's kind of where all my values and morals and stuff come from. And I said it off camera, and I say it to some people. I'm like, I blame all this on my parents. And people will look at me and be like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, I blame it on my parents because I'm in this mess because of being honest, calling things out, calling the bully out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Always doing the right thing. Those are the reasons why I'm here.
Yeah.
If I want to do that, I would just go with the flow and go with the big picture of things at the sheriff's office and be part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
Nor would I be running. But anyway, so that's where I came from. Was from being raised single mom. I was raised. I lived in an apartment building.
Did you have any siblings?
I did not. Nope, single only child.
So what was that like?
It was different. I mean, like I said,
Sounds difficult.
going to say is I lived in an apartment, so 2-bedroom apartment. It's already a small space, and we didn't have a lot of money, and raised on food pantry and food stamps and all that type of stuff. So that's why I like community, and when I do all these events and stuff for the food pantries, that's what it means so much to me because I'm kind of giving back,
Yeah.
But I mean, it was different. I mean, some people can say I was spoiled, but nonetheless, I was still raised,
Yeah.
by my mom and grandparents. And
So you guys all lived in that 2-bedroom apartment?
nope. So my grandparents lived in Caroline. So technically, I lived in Tigerton.
Okay.
And that's where I graduated high school. So I went to Tigerton School District.
Yeah.
Graduated from Tigerton High School, and then went to NWTC for law enforcement. Graduated in 2013. First job out of tech school was working for the Waupaca County Sheriff's Office as a reserve deputy. So I was actually hired by the Sheriff's Office twice in my career. I have 3 beautiful daughters. One's 11, the second just turned 6, and then my youngest is 9 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, newborns. Girl dad, all 3 girls. I have a beautiful wife. She is my rock, and you mentioned earlier about a campaign manager. She's kind of like the second campaign manager. Keeps me in line and tries to keep me in check on certain things and when emotions run high and stuff. But yeah, she's amazing. God sent her parents, so my in-laws were in law enforcement. Her dad was detective sergeant, worked for the Waupaca County Sheriff's Office actually. For like 30 some years. Her mom was a jail sergeant, worked for the Waupaca County Sheriff's Office for 30 some years. So I mean, you talk about, I always say divine intervention. Everything always works out and everything comes together. And
So, growing up, going to the food pantry and everything else, what were your interactions like with law enforcement?
Really didn't have any, and that is another big.
Interesting.
That is another big dynamic in why I pushed when I actually worked here. So this building that we're in, this is where I started my full-time law enforcement careers, right above us upstairs. And when I got hired here, that was an interesting dynamic because there wasn't a lot of community outreach. And I've talked about this before, but now you go back to like when I was younger.
Yeah.
Your question, we didn't have law enforcement stopping in the schools to try to get to know us and hang out, and we didn't have events with the police department or the sheriff's office. there was an explorers post, and I joined that. I got
Yeah.
to get experience riding along with the cops and stuff, the deputies and stuff. But we didn't have all the community stuff that we have now. And I would like to say that that's, I'm a proud contributor to that.
Yeah.
A big influence on why Waupaca County is the way that it is today. And I would even say Northeast Wisconsin is today, with all the different smaller departments and all the community events, is because we kind of started that, 10, 15 years ago when we first started doing community stuff.
Yeah, but dialing it back, because I know you said that you're raised on the golden rule, which do unto others as you do unto yourself. When you're looking at, growing up without siblings, growing up with a single mom, what was that like? What'd you do? Because you weren't getting into trouble because you didn't know the cops. So
Yeah, exactly.
Like what'd you spend your time doing? Like, what was that like?
Most of the family, to be honest with you. I had a couple close friends. Just pretty much hung out. There was a town of 800 people.
Yeah.
So everybody knew everybody, and I was the type that got along with everybody. But I don't know, we weren't spending time with friends or doing different stuff at school and stuff like that. It was going and spending time with my grandparents and my aunts and uncles and my cousins. My cousins were like my siblings, So,
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of family, and I think that's where a lot of this comes from, is that family dynamic of
Yeah.
hey, you just learn to get along with everybody and love everybody, and if you disagree, and you move on. And
in small town Wisconsin, family is everything, at least from what I've seen, because I know where my dad grew up. So my dad ended up growing up down around Wisconsin Rapids, back when the paper mills were booming, and that's, you graduate high school, you get a good job at the paper mill because your dad and grandpa worked there. And you get it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, I see a lot of this stuff, and it's very interesting, because the reason I asked that is, I think when you're looking at how you're raised, that informs all your decisions growing up. And we're gonna be diving into some heavy topics in a bit, but I think it's good to know where you come from and where you're, like, what happened. Because with you, growing up the way that you grew up, there's a very big fork in the road. And I'm sure you saw that in law enforcement. Because psychologically, if you've only got one parent, you start questioning what's wrong with yourself. At least from what I've seen.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
What was that like?
To be honest with you, I never saw it in a negative light. And I honestly think that's what makes me
Interesting.
That's what makes me who I am today. Because, especially in like you said, in law enforcement, I go to calls where divorced parents or parents are fighting, or whatever, whatnot, what have you. It's a divided household, and it's just negative.
Yeah.
Mom hates dad. They make it known in front of the kids. Or the kids just are raised by a single parent, and they start getting in trouble, or they just don't. They end up having psychological issues, emotional issues, whatever. I guess I never saw that, just because of the way I was raised, helping my grandparents. But I never saw that as a negative thing. And then now you want to talk about, like, when you get older, and define success. They always say, define being rich. I would have said I was successful and wealthy, if you will, right out of high school. Just by the way I was raised. Everything I had, I would never, I was never raised to complain about what I had. Like I said, I grew up not having a lot of money and stuff like that.
When you did get something, you appreciated it.
Exactly. So I honestly think that just all kind of just played at such a big factor into now. And then, so now, and you talk about the law enforcement side of things, I try to use that as such a positive influence for kids nowadays, and even parents.
Yeah.
I'll be in a domestic dispute, and I'll take each parent aside and actually put in the effort to, like, try to talk to them and get to the bottom of what's going on. Talk to the kids, let them know, like, hey, it's okay. Like, mom and dad fight sometimes. Like, hey, not everybody gets along. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad. Even though I didn't experience any of that stuff when I was younger, I feel like I can use that to benefit my community, the people who I'm serving. I get called to these nasty calls, or these negative type calls. Now I can use that and be like, hey, it's gonna be okay. You can still be successful. Look at me. You know what I mean? So I don't say that in a braggadocious way. I say that as in, hey, like, I didn't have a dad. Don't let that stop you, man. You know what I mean? Like, chin up. Another example: kids who do get in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, hey, knock it off. Let's get a clean slate. I've been in your position too. You know, maybe a little different. Maybe my mom and dad never fought, or whatever the case would be.
Yeah.
The situation was a little different, but nonetheless, you can still do this. You can still be successful. You can still go to college. You can still do whatever you want to do. Let's put this behind us. You know what I mean? Like, you have those conversations with people, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, is when you have those conversations with people, that means so much to them versus just being treated like, oh, it's just, this cop's got better things to do. Like, he's just here to do his job and skedaddle. Like, when you actually have that engagement like that and that heart-to-heart conversation, it means so much more. And I honestly think to this day, that's why we have the outpouring of support that we have for this campaign, because that's what this is. The whole thing's revolved around is just that.
Yeah, but growing up, you said that you kind of got along with everybody.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When did you, where did you get your strong sense of justice from? Because you're like walking around, you know people. It's a small town. I mean, everybody knows everybody. Even if you don't want to know anybody, you know everybody. Mm-hmm. Where did you get that strong sense of justice? Because that definitely bleeds through today, and we've talked about that.
Oh yeah, and that's a very good question. The best answer I can give to that is something broke. Something broke in me, because I have people ask me that all the time, especially people who I went to school with in high school. They're like, Justin, like, even the quote unquote bullies. We really never had like true quote unquote bullies. We had kids that, whatever you want to call them, the jocks, or the ones that thought they were better than you. But I got along with everybody, and for the most part, we all got along with everybody. Yeah. Or with each other. So to get me back on track.
No, you're good. So strong sense of justice.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, so let me start over. See, this is where I'm good with, like, okay, cut.
You're all good.
Next session, we're not live. Let's keep going. Strong sense of justice. Okay. And even going back into high school, like, we had quote unquote bullies. Yeah. But we didn't, we all got along with each other. And I get people that ask me to this day, like, Justin, you got along with people in school. You never really fought with anybody. You never really, like, had a voice.
Were people really fighting with each other in school?
I don't say with each other, but you know what I mean? Like,
it's grab ass.
Yeah, like the typical high school drama, that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
But nothing crazy.
But nothing crazy. So there was never nobody ever saw that from me. They always saw, and I use this term lightly. I don't want to say pushover, but because I like everybody and I get along with everybody, it was sometimes hard for me coming out of high school and going into the adult world, the working world, the working spectrum of things, having a backbone and being able to stand up for yourself. Yeah. Because that's just, I don't know, I was just raised that, hey, you work through conflict. If you have issues, you talk through it. Social media wasn't huge back then, so we didn't have to worry about being the whole bashing and all this crap that you see on Facebook and the back and forth on social media. You really didn't have that. You just talk through it type of thing. So it brings me to, like, today. Honestly, to answer your question, I think something broke through all of this, because you can only be nice for so long. Yeah. You can only try to do the right thing and be screwed over. That's an important factor. Yeah. You can only try to do the right thing, be respectful, and be screwed over so many times.
Do you think that maybe you just wanted to go back to the way it was when you were younger? Because, I mean, everyone's kind of getting along, things are happening, and times have completely changed.
It's a motivator.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah. I won't disagree. I would definitely say that's a huge motivator, because, when I picture the sheriff's office, for example, I picture, and not right away, because change, it takes a while, and you're always going to have the people that disagree with you. But overall, I see the sheriff's office being one big happy family, just like the way that was when I grew up. And what really frustrates me, and this is kind of probably where it kind of led to the whole, like, what broke me inside, was when you work your way up. You work your way up the, I don't want to say chain of command, because I was never a supervisor, but you work your way up. So, I started as part-time officer, reserve officer, then I was part-time patrol. I worked myself up to full-time, and then now I'm training people. I'm an instructor. I'm an expert witness in court. You work yourself up. So as I continue to work myself up, I continued to see problems or have conflict with people. And certain deputies or certain supervisors, we would never see eye to eye. And I never understood that, because, like you just said, I never had any issues growing up. Yeah. You got along with people, and even for example, like one of my first jobs out of school was working at a pizza parlor. If we didn't get along, we'd talk through it, work through it, whatever. And then I worked at Walmart for a little, for a couple of years. You didn't get along with certain people, you still worked with each other, you got through it. But it was just something was different in law enforcement. Like I don't know how to describe it and put it in the words properly, but like something was different. It's almost like a sense of jealousy. And I had a supervisor once tell me this years ago, a very positive influence on me, tell me this years ago, jealousy. And I said, what do you mean jealousy? And I said, they never had the opportunities, or they never had the sense of like love and affection and care for people like you do. And they see how well you get along with people and how well you're able to communicate with people and sit those juveniles down, or sit down with parents, people in crisis, that maybe one officer couldn't get a word in edgewise, but then now here's Justin sitting down having a full-fledged conversation with him. There's jealousy in that. And I had questioned that for the longest time. I'm like, I don't think that's the right word. I'm like, I don't think that's the right word. But fast forward to now today's world of running for the highest law enforcement position in Waupaca County, I think that's found to be truth. I mean, or truthful, or that's true.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can put it, is instead of, and I've said this before, and might be going on a rabbit hole, instead of like being proud of your teammates, like I would be, or like, hey, like, holy smokes, this person calmed this guy down. It's almost like an insult. Like, oh, I don't want to work with this guy now because, he had this positive influence, or interaction, or he got this compliment from this person, or, you ever hear the saying, good guys finish last?
Oh yeah.
I find that to be very evident now. Not so much, like I said, back then, but now I do. And I guess that's the best way I can explain it.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
It's just, I want what's best for everybody. I really tried to, try to make the old man proud is kind of what I always say with, like, with my supervisors and stuff. You want your supervisors to be proud of you, and you want the sheriff to be proud of you. And then when it doesn't work out that way, and jealousy gets involved, or some kind of ill intent of like, where we just don't see eye to eye, and then they find out that you're going to be running for office.
No, I get where you're coming from, because I think that's one of the things, and the reason I want to dive into how you grew up is because you've got a different approach to things, and it was evident just in our chat when I was setting up the cameras and everything, is when you do that, I mean, there's nothing wrong, because I mean, when we grow up, that's what we know. And for you knew a complete social hierarchy structure of a bunch of cousins, grandparents, and a mom who was there, and grandparents who were there. Because if you didn't like your grandparents, you wouldn't be wearing your dad's or your grandpa's necklace. Like, I think that's something that's pretty cool, because that carries through life. I mean, when you're talking about putting together basically an approach to things and how you look at stuff, and you just want to get along with people because that's what's comfortable for you. For me, for instance, like, I'm the opposite. Not the opposite. I like getting along with people, but growing up with a mom that was real like this, for instance, one of the things that whenever I get into any hard conversation, this is the way I was raised, I go in there like a bull in a china shop. We are getting down to business. I'm not. There's no small. Exactly. Let's go. Like, why are we sitting down? Why are we talking right now? Like, this is what we're talking about.
Yep.
And my mind and everything just goes like that. But you grew up a completely different way, and I think that's cool, because especially going into law enforcement, just from my understanding of it, and you can speak way better to this than I can, because this is what you do. But a lot of those guys don't necessarily have the best upbringings, or they've got very varied experiences that aren't typically like yours.
And it's a very good point. Funny you say that, because this has gotten brought up in conversations with other people and community members, friends and stuff, like, where we sit down, we try to like put the shoe on the other foot, or whatever, to see it from their perspective. It's like what is wrong? Like, I don't understand. Like, why so negative? Like did they have bullying issues? Did they have issues with parents? Did they have issues with the structure and discipline and stuff? Whatever. those are all good questions because it's like, how do you end up in law enforcement? How do you end up in the most important, most liable position of power, really? I mean, you could take somebody's rights away in a matter of seconds by arresting them or whatever. How do you end up in a position like that when you just have such a negative, nasty outlook on everything?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to your citizens that you're serving. Like, it's one thing if you're, and cops will say this all the time. We're sitting in the squad room, just venting or shooting the shit. Then that's one thing. But when you're out in the community, and then on top of it, we all wear cameras, so now on top of it, everything's documented. But nonetheless, you're out in the community, and you still have that mentality, that attitude, that mindset. It makes you just want to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
For me, being raised the way I was raised, I want to just I want to be like that brother in blue and be like, what's wrong?
And they're
like, I don't want you to hate me. Like, I'm trying to do the best that I can.
They put up a wall and you're not used to it.
I'm not. Yeah, and and I'll be honest. I don't know how to handle it. I will be honest with you. I that's probably where half of this comes from. Is I don't know how to handle that because I just want I want what's best and like this.
Yeah.
This type of conversation, this type of vibe, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, it's open and
there's positive.
Yeah, it's crazy because I see that with a lot of people, and the walls up aren't. Different people are different, and the hard part is, again, it just comes back to the way you're raised, and that's the hard part with a lot of people. Because I know with cops used to come in. I was in school back when DARE was a thing.
Oh yeah. They still do that.
Really?
Oh yeah. They still.
I heard they stopped.
DARE, I think it's maybe got a different. I mean, it's the same
general preface. They basically walked in like, okay, here's what ecstasy does to you. Here's what cocaine feels like. And from what I heard, the reason they stopped doing it. Nah, I guess I can't say that publicly. I'll tell you off camera on why they stopped doing it. What I heard. But basically, I think they never had good stories, and all of them had like some strong sense of justice that came from being a protector at a young age and having that burden of responsibility. And it creates a dissonance because you were like, well, let's just hammer it out. Because a cousin, you can't just kick to the curb and say, well, screw you. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh crap, I got to see them next weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're alienated from the rest of your family, and at a certain point, it boils over, and you're like, you guys have to get along.
Exactly. And when that doesn't happen in your career, or in specifically in this case in law enforcement, or more specifically the sheriff's office, when I was in Wapaka, it's something that I'm not used to. It is uncomfortable. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. It's uncomfortable for me.
It's foreign to you.
It's foreign to me. Yeah. Maybe I didn't handle it properly in that moment, and I come off as, being someone who I'm not. If that's the case, I really wish we'd be able to have that conversation and put that behind us. But but unfortunately, then you mix, politics.
Yeah, but your approach. I mean, even for us talking, like, because nobody knows this, but we've been trying to plan this podcast for the last 3-4 months, maybe.
Oh yeah, easily.
Like
3 months, yeah.
Yeah, because my mom passed away 2 months ago, and then we were trying to deal with it before that, and trying to get stuff on the books, and it's been crazy. But you always, in all of our interactions, because before this, we talked on the phone maybe 2 hours. Yeah. Collectively.
Yeah.
And
1 to 2 hours.
You've always seeked to understand. You've never played power games with me. Which, I've had a wide array of people on the podcast, or people I deal with in life, working in politics, that try to play power games, and at a certain point they realize it's like, the best thing I can do is just, if Tony's being honest with me, I guess I can be honest with Tony. And you, like, even coming up here, I got like 2 or 3 text messages like, okay, well, I'm here, well, I'm in this car, we'll just be careful, like, go around this way, like, it's a one. I think that's admirable, because that makes it easy to work with somebody like you.
Oh, for sure.
At least from my perspective and my experience. Again, we're going to get into the whole situation.
Yeah.
But just from what you said, you've been very easy to work with. And again, I have no horse in this entire race. I've been to Wapaka like 2-3 times in my life. And I think most of the times it was just stopping at the Quick Trip. Just to get some gas.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
But
passing through. Yeah.
So you graduate high school, what got you straight into the sheriff's office or straight into the police department?
I wanted to be a cop my whole life. That's always, even in my interview, when I interviewed for the sheriff's office for a full-time job, I literally told everybody, I'm like, that's one of the hardest questions to answer, because I've always wanted to do it. I looked back. We have like, memorable type things that we got to keep through our school career, and it's like an old file folder, from the late '90s. And the oldest one was I want to say it was first grade, either kindergarten or first grade. And you pull it out. What do I want to be when I grow up? And it's a police officer. Me writing in 7-year-old, 8-year-old me or whatever, writing police officer. So it's kind of difficult. And then when you wrap everything around wanting to be in law enforcement, and this is why most likely won't get emotional on camera, but this is why I get very emotional. I'm a very emotional person. I wear it on my sleeve, is because I have literally everything that I've done in my life from day one, from as far as I can remember, I should say, not day one, but from 4 or 5 years old, that I can remember wanting to be a cop, like talking about wanting to be a cop. I always had that in my mind. For example, how you treat people. Anytime I was in conflict in elementary, middle school, high school, I was thinking, okay, what would you do if you were a cop? Like you're supposed to help people, Justin. Like how would you handle this? And obviously, as you get older and you get more mature, so like high school, same thing. Issues with teachers. That's position of authority. You have an issue with a teacher, or I've gotten in trouble. I got sent to the principal's office a time or two. But even then, I always thought like, okay, shit, how would that make me look? Like, Justin, you're sitting in the principal's office and you want to be a cop. Fast forward, I got in trouble for trespassing on 2 times, by the way. One, I had a ATV 4-wheeler with my cousin, who was like my best friend in high school. And we went into a sand pit that we didn't have permission to go into, and we got talked to at school about it. And I remember thinking to myself, like, Justin, what are you doing? You want to, like, you've literally planned your whole life to be a cop, and now you're screwing it up. You know what I mean?
You're like 15, 16 at the time, right?
Yeah, I was 16. I just had my license. So
exactly.
I was 16.
You're a kid.
But nonetheless,
Yeah.
I was at that age to be that immature and to be that young and to continuously think, okay, how is this going to benefit me as a law enforcement officer? Fast forward, Walmart, that was a huge thing. That's why when there's people that are on Facebook, the fake accounts that'll make fun of me for talking about Walmart all the time. But that's because I worked there for 4 years, and that was a huge part of building who I am today. For example, I worked sales and I worked loss prevention, 2 separate positions at 2 separate times. But every single time I greeted a customer, or I had an angry customer, and there was conflict, or busted somebody for shoplifting and they were pissed off and threatening me or whatever, every single time the thought would cross my mind, even if it was just for half a second, okay, how would you handle this as an officer? How would you handle this in law enforcement? How would you handle this as a supervisor, as a manager?
So you looked at it as your training ground.
Correct. Everything I've ever done, and this is where I like really this is coming from the heart, man, right now. Just so you know, I'm pouring it out for you. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever said, I always think of it as a training ground. Like, okay, how is this going to benefit me? What is this going to, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, what is this going to look like? Like, is this going to hurt me? Is this going to help me? And I portray that onto people now today when I teach or when I go and talk in schools, in high schools and stuff. I tell them, listen, I've lived this. I've wanted to be a cop my whole life. I've gotten in trouble. I've went to the principal's office. Listen to me, okay? You're young. You have your whole life ahead of you. You still have time to always do the right thing and to chase your dreams. I try to be that idol, I guess, or
role model.
Role model, for people. You know what I mean? Because that's just how I've been, is always looking forward. How is this going to benefit me in the future? How could this hurt me in the future? And then kids, you can see when you're talking to them like that, and they just perk up. You can just, and I've had teachers, almost every single school I presented at, a teacher or principal, somebody will come up and be like, and again, not braggadocious way, but
you're good.
Will come up to me and say, hey, like, that was the most attentive that I've ever seen our kids. Like,
that's a good feeling.
Because you're relating to, you know what I mean? Like, you're relating to them. Like, I want them to feel, like, literally feel what I felt my entire life working up to try to be a cop. To try to make my dream come true. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And then, this might play into a totally different question later on, and that's why this hurts so much. That's why having my integrity and having all this stuff that we're about to talk about come into question and be accused of all these things that I didn't do hurts so much because I've literally poured everything that I have my whole life, not only for myself, but to be a role model for other people for this profession. So now to be called into question and to not be able to testify, and I lost not one but two jobs over this this BS. That's why it hurts, and I think that's kind of resorting back to what you mentioned earlier. That's what broke me inside.
And I mean, you can only push a guy so far, and that's one of the things that that's one thing that I feel strongly about, especially with you and just talking to you. Is, I mean, I'm going to kind of jump forward a little bit, but
absolutely,
you got pushed so far, and that's the thing that they don't get about nice people. It's like the guy that never swears. For instance, when there's somebody who's never never swore, you've never heard him say a cuss word in his life, and he says, "Oh shit."
Yeah, or the F word comes out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You drop your beer, and next thing you know, you're on edge. You're scared.
Like, holy smokes, this guy's.
It just got real.
Mad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with you, you kind of got pushed to the point that you finally were like, I can't really do anything anymore. I'm getting kicked out of jobs. Let's run for sheriff. Like, let's do this.
Yeah, and it's concoction of a few other things, but that is a major factor, contributing factor, is not only, okay, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
Like you just said, how many times can you be pushed down or followed, harassed, prevented from getting a job? Not only that, but it's principle.
Yeah.
Like, it's the principle of the whole thing. I said off camera to you before, I am perfectly happy with life right now.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you can tell, maybe you can't, because people always tell me I always have a smile on my face. That's because I'm so gracious and thankful for everything I have. I'm truly blessed. Wife, kids, mom, grandparents, family, friends, coworkers. I mean, I'm blessed. A house, vehicles. I mean, the list goes on. How many of those things can other people say that they have the same thing? You know what I mean? So I always look at that from a gracious side of things with God, that I'm just happy and thankful to have all that. But point being is, I could throw in the towel right now and just say, hey, good where I'm at, thankful for the opportunity I've been given, and move on. But it's the principle, okay?
Yeah.
It's the principle that this has gone on way too long. It's happened to other people. This isn't just about me.
Folks Folks die on principle.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
Yeah. I'll take a bullet for principle. Okay. And maybe that's not something to put out there publicly with a lot of the political violence that's going on.
For those listening, please don't.
Yeah. We are completely against political violence, but I'm being honest with you. That's how I truly feel. Like, for the principle of doing the right thing and standing up against this crap that I've been going through, I'll die on that hill.
So let's walk it through from the start. Yeah. So you're a police officer. What starts this whole chain of events that gets us to where we are now?
Sure.
Walk through that.
Yeah. So we'll go back a little bit further. So I was here in Wyowega for 5 years, about 4 years full-time, 5 years total. I applied to the sheriff's office because I wanted to expand my horizons and wanted to work my way up that totem pole, like gain more experience, more leadership experience, work with a lot more different,
You want to move up.
Yeah.
That's anybody.
Right. So I applied to the sheriff's office. I was truly blessed to be hired by Sheriff Tim Wills. I remember the exact spot on the exact highway that I was on, and the exact phone call I made, crying, because again, I'm an emotional person, because I was so thankful when Tim called me and said, "Hey, I'm gonna hire you." He joked around at first and said that he wasn't gonna hire me, but then he got down to it and said that he was gonna hire me. But I was so thankful, you know what I mean? Like, so, if you want to talk about like these people that feel like you owe people, you owe a debt of gratitude, towards people.
Yeah.
We could have that conversation. I appreciate Tim for the opportunity he gave me. So fast forward, 2022, there's an issue with a report being altered. And I'm just going to give a real quick summary on that because people need to know exactly how important and how that went down.
Go into it.
Because there's so many people that don't understand it.
Yeah, but go into it.
Yeah.
I mean, we got time. It's a podcast.
Okay, cool. So what had happened was there was a case, and I don't know the details on this case, but there was a case where a deputy was going to do an inventory search. An inventory search is something that law enforcement can do to do just that, to keep track of to inventory the person's belongings. So for example, in this case, I believe it was a vehicle, and the deputy asked a captain, detective captain, who's in charge of all this, for advice, and they did an inventory search. So the basis for that was to go through the person's belongings to make sure, hey, if there's anything expensive in there, is there maybe, guns or, whatnot, what have you, stuff that needs to be kept safe while it's in impound. If you're going to look for evidence of a crime, you need probable cause, which then means you need a search warrant. So you have the inventory search over here, that's non-probable cause, non-search warrant, and then you have the probable cause search warrant over here. Totally separate entities, totally separate searches. So the deputy writes his report for the inventory search that he did, but in his report, at the end of the sentence, he put, or like the majority part of the sentence, it said something to the extent of completed inventory search to search for evidence of a crime. He literally mixed the reasoning for an inventory search and the necessity of a search warrant into two things. Two separate things. He mixed it together into one sentence. You can't have that. So normally, what should happen, and according to policy, what should have happened is the captain or supervisor should have told the deputy, hey, did you mean something else by that? Do you want to, maybe change your report to how you meant it?
Just to clarify, so if you're going through an inventory search and you find something, what do you do at that point?
So if you find something illegal, you have to apply for a search warrant. So as soon as you're going through the inventory search to keep the person's belongings safe and secure, you find something illegal. So you find a marijuana joint or crack pipe, whatever. Stolen firearm, whatever, you have to apply for a search warrant. You can't just, now all of a sudden we got illegal contraband, so now we can search for evidence. You have to still back out, say, whoops, not whoops, but hey, we gotta take a step back here.
Interesting.
Apply for a search warrant and ask a judge to grant it.
So just to clarify, if they go through that inventory search, they find something they're not supposed to, illegal firearm, crack pipe, something like that, they have to stop the inventory search?
Correct.
Okay, so they stop the inventory search and then they apply for the search warrant.
Yep.
What happens to the inventory?
Up until that point, it's still going to be secure.
Okay.
So technically what should happen is you back out, one deputy or whoever's there, one of your other teammates goes back to the office, starts typing out a search warrant. In the search warrant affidavit or the application, you literally put, while completing an inventory search, a crack pipe was located. Therefore, we are asking for you to grant a search warrant for evidence of drugs.
So when would the search warrant not be granted?
If there's not probable cause. So, for example, if the whole thing, they call it the fruit of the poisonous tree. So, if something was done illegally in the very beginning. So say they didn't even have the right to have that car to begin with. And then they do an inventory search and they apply for a search warrant, it could be turned down. Very rarely will they ever get turned down because
they found it.
All you need is you found it and there's your probable cause. All you need is probable cause for a search warrant.
So then you apply for the search warrant and then it gets approved. Then you can continue going through the inventory search.
So then typically textbook procedure would be you get signed search warrant from a judge in hand, take it back to vehicle, provide vehicle /
This happens in what time span?
Anywhere from 1 to 2, maybe even 3 hours. It all depends on how long the affidavit takes, how long it takes to get a hold of a judge. Some counties, do it through the computer where you have to sign it and scan it, send it back in.
So the
Other
inventory
counties-
stays on site. It doesn't.
Yeah. Yep. So it's still secure. So no matter what, it's secure.
So basically, you guys stop just to walk through the process. You guys stop the inventory search. Then you guys have to say, okay, apply for the search warrant. Search warrant gets granted. The inventory stays where it is. You guys come back, then continue the inventory
Correct.
search.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Very similar to like a house search warrant. For example, somebody applies for a warrant, and I've had this happen at least one time, if not twice. But if you apply for a search warrant on a house for child pornography, sexual nature type offense, and the warrant is written for material related to a sexual offense, and now you find drugs, the argument is technically that's you wrote the warrant for something totally not drug related, so now you have to back out. Secure, same thing as the inventory search. Secure it, make sure nobody can come in and mess with anything. Everything stays. You freeze the scene is what we call it. You freeze the scene. Somebody stays there as a security officer, make sure nobody goes in and messes with anything. You go back. Guess what? You get to type another little affidavit or an amendment. I think is what.
And then you get the warrant, and then
you get a warrant for a drug search warrant.
Interesting.
To search for drugs. Now you go back to the house and you can continue to search for the crack stuff.
Even though the majority of the search warrants get approved, it's still just procedural.
It's procedural. It's making sure people don't have their rights violated.
No, that makes
sense. And that's what
sense.
this whole thing boils down to, and that's why I'm so passionate in this. That's why I wanted to. That's why I asked you if I could elaborate on this, because it's so important for people to understand that when you have that sentence that says inventory search was completed, something along the lines, I'm not verbatim here because I don't have it in front of me.
You're good.
But something along the lines of inventory search was completed to search for evidence. That's a violation of the person's rights. Here's what should have happened. It should have been like what I was beginning to say, was that the supervisor should have contacted the authoring deputy and said, hey, is this correct? Did you mean this? If not, do a supplement report and put what your true intentions were by writing that sentence. Correct yourself for the record is pretty much what. Instead, what happened was the detective captain at the time, she's not there anymore, it's a different detective captain. He's an awesome guy. But the former detective captain went in, deleted that last part of that sentence, so that way the for evidence part was gone. So now you have.
And did they find anything in this inventory search?
I don't recall any of those details, because it primarily focused around this altering of the report.
Yeah.
So now you have this sentence structure. You have the two pieces, inventory search and evidence. They took the detective captain, deleted that evidence part off. So now the sentence says it was an inventory search. No mention of anything about evidence. No mention about violating that person's Fourth Amendment right. So now, here's where the whole thing starts, and my answer will never change. Right then and there was the opportunity for them to all clear the air and say, hey, you know what? We don't do this very often, because they admitted, they testified that the inventory searches don't happen often. I haven't done a single one in my entire career.
Interesting.
They just don't happen often, because how often do we have, a non-criminal type situation where we're bringing in an impounded vehicle and we're holding on to it for a long period of time? It just, the circumstances it doesn't happen very often. Maybe in bigger cities and stuff, they impound vehicles a lot more, but we just don't do it. Yeah. The detective captain even testified, I believe she's only done it in like her 30-year career. She's only done one inventory search in 30 years. The authoring deputy, I believe he testified that he has never done one. He's like me, just no experience at all.
Yeah.
So he was relying on the detective captain. So anyways, right then and there would have been their opportunity to say, hey, you know what? We messed up. We shouldn't have deleted that out of that portion out of that sentence. We should have let the authoring deputy make his own corrections and then send it up to the DA. So instead, they were sneaky about it, was hoping nobody would notice, and then a detective sergeant who's in between the captain and the deputy. So you got the deputy, and you got the detective sergeant, and then you got the detective captain.
Yeah.
So that's the structure of chain of command. You have the detective sergeant who notices this, goes and digs the original copy out, I believe from like the shred bin or something is what the testimony said,
Wow.
and looks and says, okay, these are two separate things. Did you and he went to the authoring deputy and said, did you change this? And the authoring deputy said no. So now you have proof right there that, hey, something was altered and sent up to the DA, exculpatory evidence. Brady, you want to talk about Brady? Exculpatory evidence that needed to be portrayed or given to the courts to provide to the defense. But it wasn't. The detective sergeant who dug it out and brought light to the situation went with two other detective sergeants. The three of them skipped chain of command over the captain who did the altering of the report, rightfully so, because why would you go to a captain who's at fault here? Skips the chain of command, goes to the chief deputy, who's now the next one in the chain of command, and the sheriff, and them two stood up for the detective captain and threw the three detectives under the bus. So that's where this whole thing all went downhill. Because
Who were the three detectives?
Would have been Pete Krager, who's now the chief of City of Wapaka, Pat McClone, who works for Chief Krager, City of Wapaka, and Cameron Durant, who works for Chief Krager, City of Wapaka, and Cameron Durant also ran against Tim Wills the last election.
And what year was this?
2022.
Okay.
So this was kind of where it all started. This is where I started to like, okay, like somebody's got to start saying something here.
Where were you in 2022 when this was happening?
Working at the sheriff's office full time. So I was 2 years on. So I would have been in 2020 when I got hired by Tim Wills. Huh. And then 2022 is when this happened. So I was already working there for 2 years.
So what was this? So that's their involvement. What happened with you? Like what are you thinking as this is going on? Because like you said, it's a family, so you hear this stuff.
Yeah. A lot of us, including myself, I mean, I want to talk for other people, but I can because several of those deputies and members of the department still work there to this day. We were in awe. We were like, how can this happen? What is he going to get removed? Like, is he going to be? He was Brady, the circuit court judge, when he learned about all this, Brady'd the entire department. That was a big news headline back then. It was the sheriff on down got Brady'd, which nobody knew if you could do that. Like, how is that possible?
To clarify, specify what Brady is.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand Brady. So Brady Gigolo, I believe is how you say it, is a big federal case that came down. I want to say it was like 1977 years ago, and pretty much says that if there's any credibility issues with a witness, particularly an officer, that needs to be provided to the defense. So it's part of exculpatory evidence. So for instance, if an officer is found to have been untruthful, that needs to be sent out to defense attorneys so that way they can use that to their benefit in their case.
Yeah.
So that's what happened here, except the judge labeled the entire department. All of us were Brady from the top on down. That got clarified. The district attorney sent out Brady notifications on just the sheriff, the chief deputy, and the detective captain who altered that report. So those were the only three that ultimately ended up getting Brady'd. So now you have the election of 2022, Cameron Durant versus Tim Wills.
Yeah.
And this is the heat of the debate. This is the heat of the whole election at the time, because this is just happening in the middle of election year. And a lot of us were being quiet. I mean, it's bizarre to me on how many people now support him and vocally, verbally, or they got a sign, a will sign in their yard, how they support him. When that whole thing was happening, you wouldn't believe the amount of non-support. Yeah. There was a lot of us that were honestly thinking about jumping ship and trying to find a different department, because
what was the talk around the water cooler?
Just like office chatter type stuff.
Yeah, like what was the general? What was the vibe? What were people thinking?
We were walking on eggshells. We couldn't. For example, we were afraid to interact with our district attorney or say something or sign something or make a mistake, because oh my God, is the sheriff going to come down our throats on because we did something wrong, or
Yeah.
whatever.
These are all your feelings and your perspective.
Yeah, and this is just based on me being there and living this.
Exactly.
For example, and there's no other explanation for this other than to instill fear and to show, hey, we're the ones in power.
Yeah.
Was when this all happened, those 3 detectives got put on leave. They evidence taped their office doors. So there's a evidence detective wing, there's a patrol wing, and there's like admin and dispatch and all that type of stuff, the jail. Well, the evidence detective wing, we're allowed to go through to use one of the exits for the building. Well, we go right past all 3 other offices, and all 3 office doors have legit evidence tape with initials signed across their evidence doors. So none of us knew what was going on. We were like, okay, like
the evidence tape, like the big yellow.
Yeah, like legit evidence. I think it's red evidence tape. But and nobody, and this is, I've talked about this a little bit, but the only pictures I have that prove this is on their squad cars, which I'll get to in a second. But so we're walking down the hallway, and we're seeing this, and we're like, holy shit! Did these detectives get caught like smuggling drugs? Like, are they selling? Like, were they doing something? Like, this is like the FBI's coming in, like our DCI's coming in. Holy shit! Like, but then you're also thinking, okay, you're a cop, right? So you're thinking, there's evidence tape across the door. If it's that bad, why are we still allowed to come through this entryway? Okay, now the vehicles. So you go out this entryway, right? You go out this entryway. One of the detective squad cars are sitting right here, and then in the evidence bay over here, there's another one of those detective squad cars sitting there. All of them have evidence tape on them, on the doors. So you tell me, why would you, for any other reason other than this, to instill fear and to prove power?
I was gonna say, that sounds scary.
It was terrifying, to be honest with you. I told you, multiple deputies who are still there to this day supporting him stated they were going to look for other jobs.
So what was running through your head? Because you kind of have this different view on things and how things are going to be, and especially coming into the police force. Even the movies, like, you remember T.J. Hooker? It's T.J. Hooker with William Shatner, right?
I'd say I'm too young, but you're younger than me.
Oh my gosh. I was a huge William Shatner fan. So we ended up growing up on like Knight Rider and A-Team and MASH because we didn't have channels growing up.
Yes.
So you get it.
I recognize some of it.
But it's like everything's like this interwoven, like even like NCIS or CSI or any of the other police shows. So you grow up seeing this, you're like, I want this. Like, this is incredible. Like, you have this whole dynamic. You come into this, there's evidence tape across this entire thing. And with any workplace, like, chatter happens. Like, I remember, I'll tell you a good one. So I
got a good one too, as soon as you're done with that.
Perfect. I ended up working at this one place, and word got around pretty quickly that one of the guys ended up sleeping with one of the guys ended up sleeping with another guy's wife. The guy sent an email to the other employees of the business, and it just blew up.
Lord.
So, there's things like that, but with you guys, word travels very fast. You guys know exactly what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
So, what were you like? You've got to be conflicted at that point. What do you think?
For sure. For example,
yeah.
I don't even know if I've talked about this part yet. Which, oh well. There would be times where we would stop and pop in Cameron's office. So when they were finally off leave, they were cleared. So the evidence tape was removed from their doors.
Yeah.
They got their squads back. They're back working now, right? 2 of the 3. The one ended up getting fired. He was, I guess, considered the true whistleblower, and Sheriff Wills, under oath, said, hey, if I ever find out who the whistleblower is, I'm firing him. And he got fired.
Yeah.
But anyways, the other 2 detectives, so Cameron and Rand, who ran against Tim in 2022. For example, there'd be times where we would try to pop in his office or say hi, or like, hey, like, what the hell's going on here, man? Type of thing. And it was crazy because you would, for example, I'd be going down the hallway and I'd see he's working late because he got his hours changed because they were bullying him. retaliating against him, which is a different story. But anyways, so I'd go in later at night when he's in his office, and I'd stop in and I'd be like, hey man, what's going on? And you could just feel it, like you had to be looking over your shoulder, making sure nobody was going to be coming in to see that you were talking to him, because he was running against the current sheriff. And it would be, and you could just feel it in his voice too, where he'd be like, he'd say certain things like, like, oh yeah, not too bad, yourself. Like you kept it simple, you know what I mean? But you could just tell you wanted to say so much more. I wanted to say so much more. The other deputies wanted to say so much more. And we knew damn well, for whatever reason, somebody's recording, or, there's jail intercoms everywhere. If somebody's listening in on me talking or having contact with, on a personal level, with Sheriff Wills's competition, the then Detective Cameron Durant, we would be toast. And that instilled a lot of fear. I mean, I remember deputies saying, like they don't want to come to work. I remember thinking sometimes, like, holy smokes, like, man, I hope I don't have to testify in this case, or I hope I don't end up having to go to court for this case, because we didn't know what we could do or say. Or at one time they had and of course they accused me that this is a big lie too, but there was a case I went in, I had to testify for, and the assistant district attorney asked me to sign a form, because after the department got Brady'd, they wanted us to sign a form stating, hey, everything in our report is honest and accurate, correct and accurate to the best of our knowledge. And I remember being told by the sheriff and administration, hey, if they ask you to sign anything, don't you sign anything. I remember going back and forth with the assistant district attorney, and I said, hey, sorry, I can't sign that. And I remember him looking at me going like you're not gonna sign it? And I'm like, we were told if there's something presented to us, we're supposed to just hold off and not sign. So I wasn't even allowed to sign. I refused to sign, saying my report was accurate for the assistant district attorney on a criminal case, in fear that if I did that, I could potentially lose my job, or I'd be retaliated
How long had
against.
you been a police officer at that point?
For the sheriff's office, 2 years.
So you're 2 years into this gig, and how long in total?
I was 4 years full time when I resigned.
So you've been a cop for 4 years, and this is happening.
Yeah, well, 6 years full time total when this happened. But 2
6
years. 2 years.
2 years
with the sheriff's office. Correct. Yeah. So I mean, and you had other cops that were younger than me. You know what I mean? That were like, it was unbelievable. That's all you can say. Without
So what happens next?
So then what happens next is Cameron Durant loses the election. It was close, but it was a primary, Republican primary. And
for people that don't know, I want to clarify the inside baseball. Most sheriffs are Republicans.
I knew you were going to say that.
you knew it. So, we'll get into your old independent stuff, but
this might be a 10-minute segment, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, most sheriffs are Republicans. So as far as him losing the primary, basically lost the election. But yeah, just in your case, there was no primary.
Yeah, there's no primary because I'm running as an independent, which we can we'll talk.
Yeah, we'll
talk about that later. But in that case, it was primary, and there was no other competitors. So Cameron Durant loses. He ends up resigning. I don't know what the details were of the whole resignation agreement, but regardless, he resigns.
Yeah. And
Pete Krager, who's now the police chief of Wapaka, he ends up resigning somewhere in this time frame. And I slowly start speaking out, and it just starts as like normal office talk.
What prompted it?
Just to be honest with you, like you said, you resort back to the way you were raised. That's the only thing that's the only way that I can explain it where it's sincere, is
basically it got swept under the rug.
Is I knew something was wrong. I knew someone's rights got violated. I knew it got swept under the rug, and it was just going to be another. And the one who wanted to hold him accountable, Cameron Durant, lost. So I knew, okay, this is done and over. This is going to be kind of brushed off, like just another,
That sounds uncomfortable to live in.
Yeah. So very, and yes, I could have easily kept my mouth shut and whatever, go with the flow. There's a lot of cops that can do that, can work under different administrations and not say a damn word. And
You don't seem like the type.
yeah, no, not.
It seems
I'm
like
not.
if it didn't bother you on that week or that month or that year, it would have sure as hell just gotten to you a year after.
Exactly. And yeah, sooner or later I would have ended up resigning or going to do something else. I would have got burnt out. There's no way I could live with myself knowing that that type of shit happened and nobody other than Cameron Durant and Pete Krager stood up, had the balls to stand up and say, hey, this person's rights trumps politics. But anyways,
Yeah.
so I start speaking out. But first it starts with deputies that I'm close with, and then I kind of start floating the whole idea around of running for sheriff.
What year is this?
This is 2022. I mean, this is 2022 going.
This is right after.
Yep, going into 2023.
Okay.
And in the mix of all this, I was going through divorce. I was going through the death of my grandpa.
Yeah.
I call it the 3Ds. And then the third one's discipline. I was being disciplined for a completely unrelated situation that was, if you want me to get into that, I can get into that later, but it was complete, I say retaliation, but it was completely one-sided and just complete bullshit. But
What happened?
you want me to talk about it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Can I come back? Is that okay?
Sure.
Can I come back to it?
Go for it.
So I was struggling with those three things to begin with, and I started taunting the idea. I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to run for sheriff or be a police chief. You know, be a leader in this profession, but not for at least another probably 10, 15 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, kind of like what we talked about earlier with, you know, job security and stuff. What happens now if I get elected, but then I don't get reelected? You know, now what do I do for the rest of my career, type of thing. But anyways, so I put a lot of thought into that, and then people started asking me questions. Sergeants started bringing it up, and I'm like, oh shit! Like they're listening. Like they're like, is Justin for real right now, or is he kind of just messing around? And I started becoming more vocal, and then the discipline stuff that I'll tell you about here in a second kind of had an influence with this. And somewhere in here, like I said before, it just like snapped inside of me. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to run. And there were certain things that Cameron didn't elaborate. How can I say this? Didn't elaborate on, or didn't go as deep into it as what I am right now. And that's probably why I'm getting more kickback and, you know, maybe I don't pick my battles as well as he did, but there's certain battles that need to be picked, and I just felt like he didn't pick them. And I love Cameron Durant to this day, so it's nothing I wouldn't say to his face. But I just felt
personality difference.
Personality difference, and I just felt like he could have went a little harder on certain issues with the altering reports and stuff like that, and he just didn't. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to do it, and then I started talking around like, hey, when I'm the next sheriff, or when this happens, you know,
that's an easy way to piss somebody off.
Oh, frickin' A. But by that time, I already knew everybody knew, you know. So then towards the very end, so this is coming up on February of 2024, when I was forced to resign. I had to go down and pick up a squad car for the undersheriff, who is the second in command, who is the jail captain, who wants to be the next sheriff after Tim Wills. They put me and him in a car together to go down to Madison to pick up a squad car. You tell me if this was by design. Like, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but like, okay, what are the chances you're gonna put us together? And the whole trip, what did we talk about? Politics.
Of course.
And how he would make such a great sheriff, and how he's done this, and how the current sheriff, Tim Wills, has prepped him and has kept him up on certification, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And we get all the way down to Madison, and we just pull into the shop where we're picking up the squad car. And he finally brings it up, and he goes, yeah, somebody asked me the other day if Malueg would run for, you know, if you've heard if he's going to run for sheriff, or if you've asked if he'd run for sheriff. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, and this is him talking. Yeah, he could run for sheriff. Anybody can run for sheriff. That was his way of finally breaking the ice and bringing it out. Like, hey, Justin, are you actually thinking about running for sheriff? And I told him, I said, oh, I was thinking about it. I said, but hopefully not anytime soon. You know, I wasn't lying.
Yeah.
But of course, he took that back immediately, right back to to the sheriff, and it wasn't even 2 weeks later, and and that's when everything went downhill with my situation. So,
Damn.
but yeah, so then I end up getting, so 2 weeks later, roughly, I have 2 big cases happen on the same shift. And I'll try to make it long story short. One was a hit and run involving a 15-year-old girl. She was okay. She was sideswiped with a vehicle. And thank God she was okay. The driver, older guy, comes back. I should probably show a little more respect than that. He wasn't old like elderly gentleman, but he was older. But he turns around, comes back, he makes sure that the girl's okay, and waits for the parents to get there. And then he takes off. Well, statute says you can't just take off. You got to leave your contact information. So it was a felony hit and run. So I ended up doing a really thorough investigation. I tracked the guy down. Super, super good guy. It's like you and me.
Yeah.
Clean record. He was coming from his dad's that had Alzheimer's or something like that. And then his mom had something wrong with some disease with her.
Doesn't sound like he was trying to do anything malicious.
So yeah, so he had a lot of stuff going on in his life. And so I ended up arresting him. And I made a mistake in a report. We kind of talked off camera, but this is kind of where it all comes together. I make a mistake in the report, and I think it was the next day later.
What was the mistake?
I had typed that I had completed a crash report, because there's so many other things that you got to get done before the end of your shift.
Yeah.
And I had put in my report, which I did this often.
Yeah.
I've admitted that before, and I'm not gonna. There's no sense in trying to say that you didn't. But I've done this multiple times before, where I go ahead of myself on my long report, and I'll say, crash report complete. And I'll move over to my laptop, and I'll actually finish working on the crash report.
Yeah.
Well, whatever, the system ended up freezing up on me. I never got that crash report done. But it says it in my report that I got it done. Technically, that could be borderline Brady violation, because you're saying that you did something when you really didn't. Honest mistake, okay?
Yeah.
Sergeant calls me. I'm sleeping. It was night shift, so it calls me during the day. I'm sleeping, wakes me up, says, "Hey, you got to go fix this report. You didn't actually complete this report. So go out and complete it, and then fix your narrative."
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's easy.
I get permission to go out in my squad car and do it, so I didn't have to go into the office. So I go out in my PJs, and I got my dorky glasses on, my goggles, because I have bad eyes. But anyways, and I'm out there, and I'm typing away and doing everything, and the sergeant's checking in with me, and everything's good. And I think to myself, I said, shit. I said, what do I do first? Do I make a supplement quick saying that I made a mistake and get that up to the DA's office so dude can see a judge? Or do I do this long ass crash report first and risk not having it up there in time, and the dude would have to sit in jail another day? Again, resorting back to what I know and how I was raised.
What's procedural?
Procedural would be to get everything completed before the end of your shift.
Yeah.
So all that, even though my computer froze up, I should have restarted it and sat there and waited and got everything done to begin with. But procedural is do it and then document what you did.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. You don't know when your computer's going to be back up and running. It's technology.
And that's what it was. And of course, they claim that I lied about all that and everything. But anyways.
Got it.
So me being me, and I've done this before, I call up to records, and they answer, and I say, hey, I just got called in to fix my report by sergeant. Just checking. I can't remember what is the time that I have to have this over to you so you can forward it to the DA, because that was what their job was. And she goes 10 a.m. and it was like quarter after noon at this time, or 12:30. I'm like, and I remember saying something like, "Oh shit!" Like, okay, I guess I'll take my time then, because I don't have to. I don't have to be rushed now to get anything up there, because it's already past 10 a.m. So okay, go about, get everything done, hand it in. Fast forward, I get called into an internal interview, and my union rep meets with me. And my union rep says, "Hey, Justin, just so you know," I talked to him first. They're looking at terminating you. They're saying that you called a records clerk to undermine a patrol sergeant. And me being, again, I mean, you nailed it on the head, man. When you and you said earlier, like you can't help but resort back to like how you're raised and your morals and everything.
Yeah.
I got upset, and me being an emotional person, and they knew that because in past disciplines, I got emotional because I love my job so much.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I get emotional. I said, are you freaking kidding me? I said,
Yeah.
I said the F word. And he goes, yep. He said, apparently they have it documented that you called in and tried to get out of doing what the sergeant told you to do. I said, that's bullshit. I want to be in, because he asked, are you sure you want to be interviewed? We can just end this right now and we can resign. I said, no. I said, I want to be interviewed. I was so upset. I said, I want to be interviewed. I said, because that never happened. I'm telling you that never happened. So in comes captain, in comes lieutenant and HR. And we sit down at a table and I get interviewed, and the questions get asked to me of just that.
Yeah.
If I called a records clerk to undermine my patrol sergeant, and I said no. For the life of me, I'll go to my grave saying this because it's the same. It'll be the same answer until the day I die. I don't know if it's because I was so upset. I don't know if it's mixed with the frustration of being accused of something I didn't do, or just almost like the give up mentality of like, what, I can't do anything right type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't recall calling into the records department specifically to undermine the sergeant, but I didn't remember calling into the records department. So I said no. And I went one step further because it's on recording. And it got leaked, even though I wanted it to get released.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't give it to me, but they leaked it to the fake profiles and the Republican Party and everything else.
Yeah.
But there's a recording of it, and the next thing you hear me say is, well, I sure hope there's a recording saved of this because I know I didn't call the records clerk. That's how, I mean, in that moment of emotion and frustration, I was so confident that I never made that call. So then somewhere in here, they end up ending the interview, and they bring back a copy of the phone record that shows that I called. So now I literally sit back, and I'm sitting just with me and the
Union rep.
And I'm literally sitting here in awe, like, why would I have called? I'm sitting there, I'm like, why would I have called? I'm trying to think of, there's no, I said, I'm telling you right now, I didn't call to undermine it. And let's talk about that for a second. If I didn't want to do something that a sergeant told me to do, why would I go to somebody who has no authority to trump the sergeant?
And is it pretty normal for people or for cops to call into records?
It all depends.
Okay.
Maybe not so much to
if you
help
have
the defendant out, or help the inmate or the
if you have a question though.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Anything that has to do with records or reports or stuff.
You just give them a call and say, "Hey, I'm kind of thinking. I'm not sure."
Yeah, quick question for you. Hey, did I enter this right? Is this approved? Whatever. But I was probably, I'll be honest, I was probably one of the only ones that would actually like err on the side of the defendant and be like, hey, like I don't want him to sit in jail because of my screw up in the report. I want him to get released like he normally would.
100%.
Because if I didn't screw up. So anyway, so we end up ending the interview, and I resigned, or I at least stated that was my intention, was to resign, pending the closing of an internal. And we wrap it up, we leave, he walks me out the door, and then of course now when I'm out in the truck and I'm sitting there dwelling on what the hell just happened, I'm like, what? Why did I call? Who did I call? Who did I talk to? And I sat there and I looked at my phone for a little bit, and I'm like, oh, okay. And it kind of came back together as I'm sitting there and I'm calmed down. But so now I'm in this situation of being accused of undermining a supervisor, and now, well, why wouldn't Justin lie to cover that up? Because he was trying to undermine a supervisor, so why not try to lie to cover it up? You know how many things, Tony, I would have to completely disregard, not even law enforcement related things or administrative type things, but common sense things that I would have to disregard to actually have that happen to me. I'd have to completely disregard that phone calls are recorded. I'd have to completely disregard that any phone call that's made through my cell record my cell phone is gonna have a cell phone record. I'd have to totally disregard that record clerk would probably write a statement against me and go to the sergeant and say, hey, Justin just tried to override. There's so many different things. that would have to happen in my mind that I'd have to disregard and be like, yeah, I can get away with this. You know what? I don't want to do my report today. I already woke up and walked out to my squad car and fired up my computer, but you know what? I want to go back to bed. The reality behind it, you know, to try to make that make sense, you just can't.
Yeah, but I mean, if you were going to undermine him, you would have done it back when Cameron was running for, when he would have ran against Wills.
Well, let's make it a little more realistic.
Yeah.
Let's make it a little more realistic. If I wanted to, I just went and did it, or I would have, you know what I mean? Like,
Just went back to bed.
I would have went back to bed and finished it later on when the sergeant was off duty or something, or. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many other things.
So that's what they went after you with.
And that's exactly what they went after. So now this is where it gets interesting. This is where I hope you didn't lose anybody by this point for viewership, because this is where it really gets interesting.
So, okay, we laid the foundation as far as to what happened. So we're coming back to what happens when you get canned the first time.
Yeah. So I resigned, and there was an agreement. So let me back up. So before me and the union rep walk out of the building, they come back in, and part of somewhere in here, the part of the agreement was that I was not going to get Brady'd. So if I resign and just carry on, go get a job somewhere else, I wasn't going to be Brady'd. Well, man, that's a hell of a deal when everything we just talked about is on the line, because you're being accused of potentially being a Brady cop and never being a cop ever again.
Yeah.
So there's a lot on the line. So hey, that's a pretty damn good deal.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up taking that deal. One little problem: it wasn't in writing. Because why would you promise not to Brady somebody and put that in writing, right? So it's just a verbal type agreement. So then they draft a resignation agreement. I ultimately resigned. I don't know if it was like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. I get a call from someone who was at former DA Isherwood. She's the one that kind of brought Kat Turner into the picture.
Okay.
And that's kind of how she got approved through Governor Evers.
So former DA calls you.
So former DA calls, or no, somebody calls me who was at former DA's retirement party and says, hey, Kat was at DA Isherwood's retirement party, and she was going around bragging that she's got a Brady Malueg. You should probably look into that just to make sure that like they didn't fuck you over. And I emailed, this is my first communications with DA Kat Turner. I emailed Kat Turner, and I said, hey, are we able to meet about the situation? I heard that you're going around, I didn't say it like that, but going around bragging that you're going to Brady me. And I get a response back stating there's no such thing as a Brady list, and that anytime that there's a potential dishonest officer situation, I have to notify defense counsel, and the appropriate defense counsels were notified. So she pretty much just tells me that she did a Brady notification, but there's no list, whatever that means. So then I'm like asking for clarification, like why, how, like where did this all come from?
A Brady list. So who else did they go after in the department?
Well, there's an internal Brady list across the state of Wisconsin, so the DAs can label people, and I'm learning all this as I go.
Yeah.
To my understanding, because I've had, and I will not tell you which counties, but I have had multiple. That's more than one, because I say it like that because there's going to be people that are going to say, oh, well, DA Isherwood communicates with Officer Justin. I have had other DAs from across the state of Wisconsin reach out to me and tell me that there's a list, an internal list that the state uses behind the scenes, and I'm listed on there.
So basically, anybody who's had a Brady.
Correct.
So police officers that have had this.
Correct. And
they say, okay, do not hire these people.
Correct.
It's basically a no hire list.
It's pretty much what that is. And going back to what we talked about earlier, Sheriff Wills is on that list. The chief deputy is on that list, and the detective captain that altered the reports on the list. So I know it's a legit list because them three are on there, and this DA's telling me that.
How'd you find out that this was a thing?
Through him, through this DA just randomly reaching out to me, seeing the struggle I'm going through with Wapaka, and said, hey, obviously between us, here's what I know. type of thing. From
So what happens next? So you're reaching out to the DA.
So I'm reaching out to the DA, like just asking questions like how this all works. Somewhere in the mix here, I get hired part-time with Cheyenne PD, where I'm at now, and Poinet, which is where I ultimately became full-time again, down by Columbia County, if you know where that is.
Yeah.
Just north of Madison. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, things are good. I'm getting hired. Even though she braided me, even though they promised that they weren't going to, she braided me, I'm still getting hired, right? Life's good. I'm this happy-go-lucky person. Life's good. So I'm working part-time for Poinet, part-time for Cheyenne, and I'm working full-time for a security company. While I'm at my security company job, my chief in Poinet calls me and says, Justin, what the hell? I said the F word, but what the hell?
Yeah.
The sheriff the DA just called me down here and said that the sheriff of Waupaca just called down here and tipped the sheriff off down here saying, hey, you have a Brady cop working for you in your county, just so you know.
So you weren't even alerted or notified that you
Correct. I was never alerted. I was never notified. The second go around when the sheriff now calls down to Columbia County out of his own.
So you're basically hit with being called untruthful legally.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're blacklisted without even knowing that you were never notified.
Correct.
So then you find out through a friend of a friend, basically.
Correct.
And all of a sudden...
And get it confirmed by Kat Turner. When she emails me and says,
So did they have a record of the notification?
So this is where it gets interesting. And this is...
Okay.
This is
I'll let you keep going, yeah.
I appreciate it, because this is going to be the first time that a lot of people hear this. Some of this, at least, because I've never actually had the opportunity to explain it on camera.
And I want to interject with one thing. For anybody listening to this, I'm taking your word for all this, and the part is you guys can file an open records request for any of the information in here that if you're trying to figure out if people are trying to figure out what you are talking about or what you're saying is true or not, they can file an open records request. In open records requests, you can get the recordings, you can get any of this information, and you can back up what you're saying. So if people really want to dig into the details on this, they can go dig in for themselves, right?
Absolutely. And I will say this, it's all there. I will save them time and money. They can go to my website, maluegforsheriff.org, and look it all up themselves.
Spell the last name?
Malueg. Thank you.
You betcha.
Malueg. Or Malueg for telemarketers.
FOR for sheriff.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Exactly. For sheriff.org, and all of the records that I reference or anything that's even the recording of me when I said that I didn't call the records clerk. I even have that on there. I have all my past disciplinary files on there. Anything that you can open record is on my. I'm as transparent as I can possibly be.
I'm just saying that if they don't believe you, most people don't realize that everybody looks at political stuff as oh, I can't believe this guy did this, or did he really do that? People can find out pretty quickly if you're lying or not, or if you posted fraudulent documents. Submit your own open records request. If you want to understand what's going on, do it.
For sure. And I can't remember if I said this on camera or not earlier, but two things people hate.
Yeah.
One, when you're respectful and you show kindness towards them, and you call them out on their stuff, and maybe that's two things, so three total.
Yeah.
And then when you have documentation to prove it, when you bring your receipts and you stand up against this nonsense, the bullying, the defamation, whatever you want to call it, the harassment, you stand up against this type of stuff, and you're kind about it, you're respectful, you don't bully, you don't resort to the middle school BS drama, and you provide the receipts that show that this actually did happen and they're lying. Oh man, that's why I'm going through exactly what I'm going through right now, and why I'm getting so much heat, because that's exactly what I do. I don't have a mean bone in my body. I don't think I could actually hold up even I think the worst call I've ever been on, where I've had to argue with somebody, because they're screaming at me, screaming and spitting at me in the backseat of my squad car. It ended with a handshake because the guy couldn't stay mad at me. I don't know. But anyways.
Yeah, jumping back in.
So jumping back into it.
You get the call.
I get the call from my chief, and he goes, Justin, what the F? My DA just called and said that the sheriff down there got a call from the sheriff out of the kindness of his heart in Wapaka
Of course.
that he wanted to just, be do his due diligence or whatever and notify him that, hey, you got a Brady cop working for you down there in Poinette. So the sheriff calls the sheriff of Columbia County, Poinette, calls the DA. The DA calls my chief and says, Chief, did you do a background check on Justin? Because if so, why is the sheriff of Wapaka randomly calling down here weeks after you've been hired?
And this is Sheriff Wills calling down.
Sheriff Wills calling the sheriff of Columbia. Multiple weeks later, saying, hey, just so you know, and my chief goes, yeah, we did a background check. Not only did we do a background check, but they contacted the sheriff's office of Wapaka. They've contacted District Attorney Kat Turner, and they open recorded my files and everything from Wapaka. They had my resignation agreement. They had everything. So now, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, you know a lot about this more, it seems like more than me when it comes to like the politics behind all this. Wouldn't that be the time if you're going to bring up issues to try to derail someone from a job? It would be during that background process.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when I can't remember if my lieutenant in Poinette at the time, if he called up to Sheriff Wills or if he went up there in person. Regardless, they did a background check on me. Regardless,
they already did their due diligence. They
exactly.
knew everything they were getting when they hired you.
And they interviewed me, the chief at the time, and the lieutenant, who is the current chief now. But the lieutenant at the time did the same, talked to me and everything. Hey, tell me your story. Everything that I just told you.
So they dug into you, and you said the whole thing. They already knew about your past, and suddenly this Brady thing never happened. There was no record of it.
Want to hear another good one? This has never been said on camera before. D.A. Turner gave a outstanding recommendation for me to get hired
at Poinette.
In Poinette, actually in Shiocton as well. But so not only does D.A. Turner plays into this a little later, but not only did she have to Brady me or whatever because of the whole situation, but she asks if she can be put down as a reference, and then she actually gives me a good reference, an outstanding recommendation to get hired. Make that make sense for me, please, because I'm baffled on how that makes sense, on how you have to Brady someone. I'm this bad person. I do nothing but lie. We'll talk about it here in a little bit, but like I've done illegal traffic stops and
So let's continue with the story.
Yeah, but
so you're in. So
I'm in Poinette.
Yeah.
So now my chief and lieutenant do another background check on me. So now they actually go up to Wapaka. They go in the captain's office. This is all on body. They recorded on body cam, and Wapaka recorded on body cam, which they still won't release to me. But anyways, and they go in and they have a conversation. So it's the captain of the sheriff's office, a sergeant of the sheriff's office, mind you, same sergeant that I supposedly undermined in that phone call, and then my lieutenant and my chief. All four of them are in this office, and they watched the recording of my interview when I lied about not calling the records clerk.
Yeah.
And they do that. I think they even go back up to the DA's office or something, or they try to open record my file again or something. And they call me back and say, Justin, we went up there and reviewed everything, and my chief tells me, the whole calling a records clerk thing is kind of borderline,
it's pretty damning.
Yeah, it's pretty damning. He goes, but it doesn't change anything. We did a thorough background check. The DA still recommends you. This is shady as shit. You know what I mean? They knew something was up right away. So I continued to be employed there. So not only was I continuing to be employed there, I ended up becoming the next full-time officer, and I'm full-time in Poinette for the next year.
And still working part-time in Shiocton?
Correct. So now I'm full-time in Poinette. Amazing team down there, by the way. I really miss working with them down there. Full-time down there and part-time in Shiocton. A year goes by, and I'm going to just pause right there real quick. Before the this all happened, before the year goes by, I had actually started challenging DA Turner. So this is where me and the beef between me and Turner comes into play. So I send her a lengthy email asking her to retract the Brady notification because there's nothing in my file. The statute on Brady says that it has to rely upon the employee's personnel file, and there's nothing in my file. The county won't release nothing with my interview where I supposedly lied. So she goes down to HR and open records my file for the first time ever. And I told her, how can you...
You're good.
I said, how can you...
Give them a glance. I'm just making sure everything's still running.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
And I said, how can you go down there first now after I challenge you? If you're going to Brady someone and end someone's career, why wouldn't you make sure that all your ducks in a row and you're 110% thorough to begin with? So she calls, or I sent the email. She calls me and leaves me a voicemail and says, yeah, I'm not sure if you want any of this on the official record that could be open to open records. So I didn't respond back to your email, but if you can give me a call back. So I call her back, and I have my wife's tablet next to me, and I click the record button because I know this is going to go
AWOL.
Fabulous. And 24 individual documented either lies or misrepresentation of truth, however you want to describe it. 24 things in that phone call with Kat Turner. There's 24 things that are wrong, that are either she was wrong on, she lied, just complete times on like where she references things I did that I was never even.
Do you think some of them were mistakes?
There could have been a couple, because she said she was going off of her recollection. Like she didn't actually make.
I was going to say how many times like.
Sure, let's be fair. Let's.
What do you think were the big things? Because I mean, we're talking 24 times. Like I don't even remember what time I ate breakfast this morning.
And times, and let's be fair. If you take out some of the nitpicking of those, then maybe it's down to like 15 or 16 instead of 24.
Okay.
But, one of the biggest ones is saying that she went in my personnel file and everything matched my internal. No, that was in there. The sheriff's office said it wasn't in there. HR told me it wasn't in there. I open recorded it. I couldn't get it because it wasn't in there. But yet she still says that her Brady determination was based on everything that was in my file. There's nothing in my file. My chief open recorded it. Nothing in my file. My part-time chief in Shiocton open recorded it. Nothing was in my file.
So let's jump back a ways because we've gone down a whole rabbit hole.
I know.
You're good. So why'd they Brady you? There's nothing in your file.
Correct.
There's one situation where you forgot to.
At this time. That's why at that time, why I'm contesting it.
So you've got reasoning though, and you've got a justification or an understanding of the situation or why they Bradyed you. Why do you think they Bradyed you?
Like ultimately, like why do you?
Ultimately, what are your thoughts? Like
ultimately, I think it's
how do you feel? Like or why? What do you feel happened?
Well, ultimately, I think it's political. I mean, ultimately, I think it was it was an I got you moment, but it comes down to the records.
Because you're running for sheriff.
Oh yeah, that's ultimately
because of the whole situation that happened. I want to bring it all back full circle because I think we've definitely gone down a bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
they basically.
I apologize, but I just know
people
are going to ask.
The big thing is I want to clear the air on the story, and I want to make this very public that Sheriff Wills, if you want to be on my podcast, you're more than welcome to come on and refute this. I'm an unbiased party here. You, as of this moment, you are not a client, so I have no horse in this entire race.
Correct.
And at the time of recording this, you have not paid me for any services or anything else like that. And frankly, we connected through social media.
Correct. Yeah, you reached out asking if I'd be willing to be on your podcast.
Exactly. And like I said,
and let's not forget to mention that you asked me if there's any questions that were maybe some tough questions, and
100%.
What do I say? So bring it. Like ask anything you want. I will tell everybody that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean,
and I will say behind the scenes, that's one of the things that I have with every guest is I ask, is there anything you don't want to talk about on the podcast? Because some people are like, well, I don't want to talk about my kids. Some people are like, I don't want to talk about the situation. Some people are like, I don't want to talk about religion. Some people are like, I don't want to talk about politics. So I'm respectful of that in whatever podcast happens. And you were also very upfront at the beginning. You're like, I'll answer any question you want. He's like, and you said if you run up to me on the street, like, I'll answer a question. Like,
Yeah, seriously.
nothing's off
As long
limits.
as you're respectful, of course. But,
Exactly. So this whole saga happens where, so Poinette. So what happens?
So what happens?
Because basically, they're not sure what the hell's going on. Everybody's all up in arms, and yet at this point, that year has passed. You start to kind of defy DA Turner and start to say, well, this doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. She hops on the phone, and then you caught her in 24 technical instances of lies, but probably half or a little above half of that where it's actual.
Where
What
they
you
could
feel?
have been, on this
What you
stage or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. So a year goes by, and I'm thinking, hey, and at this time I'm verbal about this. At this time I have actually, let me back up. I did not create my Officer Justin page at this time yet, but I was very vocal on my personal page of like hinting at, hey, I'm going to be pushing for a leadership position, sometime soon. And so everything's good. Full time now on Poinette. Year goes by. So now May of 2025 comes around, and my chief, now, it was then lieutenant, but he becomes the chief now on Poinette, sits me down in my office. I'm like, like I could just take a wild guess. Probably has to do with Wapaka, because it's just nonstop everything. And he goes, yep. He goes, apparently there was an illegal traffic stop or unjustified traffic stop that you were involved in, and you arrested someone. Of course, me being emotional, right away was like, WTF? Like, please tell me the details on this, because, and I am not, I hope I come off as being the least braggadocious and non-arrogant person ever, but if there's anything I am very confident and comfortable in, it's OWI law, OWI impairment and drug impairment.
Welcome to Wisconsin.
Any law that has to do with, that's where I'm an expert witness. I'm labeled as an expert witness in court for that. For those topics. I went to Milwaukee drug school, DRE school for multiple weeks and stuff. So I love it. I was one of the number one OWI guys, got the most drunks off the streets, got the most drug impaired drivers off the streets. I was doing drug evals to keep, the drug impaired drivers being, keeping them held accountable.
Yeah.
If there's anything I'm comfortable with, it's that. And guess what they accused me of performing illegally? Traffic stop that led to an OWI arrest. So I told my chief right off the bat, I said, I don't care what you have to do. I don't care what stop it was, what date, when it was, unless it was like one of my first OWIs ever when I was like a green officer. Find out what they're saying, because it's going to be made up. It's going to be false. This is all going to be political, because there's no way that I did an illegal stop. So then he goes, well, it's actually documented. They filed a motion to have the case dismissed. And I said, they did what? So then I find out that that DA Turner, technically I think it was an ADA, assistant district attorney, but ultimately Turner, they make the decision that case gets dropped because of the discrepancies in this OWI. Long story short, what happens? I meet a vehicle coming at me with a headlight out. I spin around on the vehicle. I run the license plate. It's called in a system called MOC. When you run a license plate in MOC, it brings you back the registered owner. And, the vehicle and the registered owner. So you can see the vehicle's current registration, and you can see if the registered owner is valid.
And this is happening as you're pulling the person over?
Nope, this is happening while I'm behind the car. I haven't pulled them over yet, because that's very important. Because this is, to you and your viewers, nobody will believe this. This is the most unheard thing that I've ever seen in law enforcement in Wisconsin, in the country. The record that they provided showed me running the plate, and then the driver after I had stopped him. So they claim that I'd made up some magical excuse to pull this car over, and then I ran the driver. Here's the problem. The registered owner and the driver are two separate people. Let me make that make sense. When you run a car, if you're registered to the car, your name's going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
If you borrow the car to a buddy, it's not you driving, obviously, right?
Yeah.
It's your buddy. So, of course, I didn't run the buddy until after I pulled him over because the registered owner was not valid to drive.
You run the registered owner, and what does it come back with?
Expired. You had an expired driver's license, which is probable cause for a traffic stop.
And there's a headlight out.
And a headlight out. The headlight, that might have grounds to get tossed because I reported the headlight in my citation narrative, and I had left it out for whatever reason. I left that sentence out in my long form report. But nonetheless, the registered owner thing is in there.
But as far as the guy's concerned, you gave him a citation. Like if it were one of us, you gave us a citation.
I don't even think I gave him a citation
out.
for the license. For the headlight out was a warning. I don't even think I gave him a citation for the license. I could be wrong on that. But then he got it for OWI because he was over limit. Cops do this all the time. That was a stop that I made, and I've actually asked the DA to go back and challenge or bring back all these cases of mine from years past so these people can go free if that's truly the case, because I have had a stop just like this and an OWI arrest and put people in prison for the same exact thing where the registered owner wasn't valid, so I stop them. It's nighttime, you can't see who's driving, so you stop them, and it ends up being a buddy or a sibling or their kid.
So the guy gets arrested for an OWI. Was he released or was he in jail?
I think it was a relatively minor offense, so he got released. I think. So I don't think he was. But
does the whole case get thrown out?
The whole case gets thrown out. So what they do, for whatever, I don't know how this gets brought up, if the DA digs into it, if the sheriff digs into it, or if the defense attorney digs into it. There's conflicting ideas there. But nonetheless, it gets brought into their attention. The DA asks the sheriff's office to do an investigation on this. Ooh, that's going to be impartial, right? They have one of their captains going into the dispatch records and pull the records that shows that I ran the plate and the driver. What's missing? The registered owner. Mm-hmm. They don't provide the DA with me running the registered owner prior to making the stop. So when they take that element out, it looks like, hey, I ran the plate and then I ran the driver. How do you run the driver?
You had that in your report.
Correct. And it's all time stamped. It's time stamped.
Was it taken out of the report?
No, it's not.
Just neglected.
Report times. I open recorded everything, man. Like I learned a lot about open records during this because I open recorded the dispatch record. I have the dispatch recordings.
Just so people understand who runs the open records request. When you make that submission, who's the one that grabs it?
The sheriff's office.
Okay.
The sheriff's office. Ultimately the same division that gave this info to the DA to begin with.
That's the crazy part.
So now my chief gets involved. This is where it really gets good because this is recorded and it's on my Facebook and social media. Me and my chief, we go up and we meet with DA Turner.
For a chief from Poinet.
Yep. So chief of Poinet sitting here. I'm here. DA Turner, and then the ADA that ultimately, or not ultimately, the DA that had dismissed it, but ultimately it was the DA's decision. So we're sitting at this table, right? And she's already confident. She comes in, how can we help you, type of thing. And so my chief does mostly all the talking. My chief pretty much says, let's just get to the point here. My chief says, hey, I think this is BS. I think this is politically motivated or personally motivated.
Yeah.
I don't see a reason with the traffic stop. He ran it past his lieutenant. His lieutenant didn't see a problem with the traffic stop. He ran it past other people down in Columbia County. They didn't see a problem with it. Any cop that you ask, they're going to say, well, yeah, we do that stop. We pull people over for that all the time. Registered owners suspended. Registered owners this, expired.
Yeah, so what happened?
So she, of course, brings up other fabricated lies and things that are just completely unrelated to why we're even here meeting. Other cases accused me of being in my personal car and pulling some random person over for drunk driving. Just bizarre stuff that's all on my social media.
And then there's no records of any of this.
Correct. Oh, yeah. Everything that she said. Not one thing that she said that was bizarre is able to be backed up by
there's
documentation.
No evidence.
Nothing.
Okay.
So when your viewers do their own research and open records of stuff, don't take my word for it. And I always say this: don't take my word for it. Please do not take my word for it.
Yeah.
Please dig into me, dig into my personnel file, dig into all of this, because you will find that it is complete made up and it is complete BS. So, anyways, my chief, ultimately, this is the best thing I've ever heard in my entire career. Ready for this? My chief goes, "So what's the process for bradying district attorneys? Because you're a liar." He literally says it, plain as day. He goes, "What's the process for that?" And sooner or later, she goes, "I think we're done here. Good luck with whatever you're doing." And she kind of like slowly gets up, like, "Good luck with whatever what you're trying to do. Have a nice day," and then frickin' walks out of the room. But yeah, he called her right out, because a police chief that has no, like you said, doesn't have a dog in this fight, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I stole that from Kat Turner, because in this interview, she actually says that. Kat Turner says, "I don't have a dog in the political fight of Tim Wills and Justin Lee." But anyways, the chief doesn't have a dog in the fight, just like you said you don't do in this interview, right? So why would he put his full-time chief career on the line
So what
to
happens?
come up here and take on a district attorney?
So what happens afterwards? So she gets up, she walks.
So my chief pretty much says, I'm not, until I see something that shows otherwise, I'm not firing Justin. Like, and he told me that too. He goes, "Justin," I'll never forget this, verbatim. He goes, "Justin," he goes, I'm not going to have your back if this ends up being a lie. If you lie to me, I'm not having your back. You know that, right?" I said, "Fair." I said, I know I'm not lying. So I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Yep." He goes, "But if this is found to be complete bullshit," he goes, I'm going to fight this with you." And he did. By God, I mean, we both shed tears together at the end, because he made a comment about how he wishes he could have did more, and he did more than any.
So what happened?
Police chief. What he ultimately ended up doing was he kept me employed. Business as usual is what he said. So business as usual. Everything's good. By this time, I had already had a Officer Justin page made.
Yeah.
Posting stuff on there. I think I had actually, no, I had not formally announced I was running for sheriff. The only reason I did was because of the whole illegal traffic stop and the DA stuff. I wanted people to understand where this whole thing wraps around.
Now you're good. I'm just checking.
Yeah.
So
I just wanted people to know, to understand that. So, so fast forward, I'm working, everything's good. We move on from this. She won't let it go. I've asked her multiple times to withdraw it, to say, "Hey, it was just, we dug into it more." I said, "Hey, even release a memo to the news media saying that we researched it further and came up with a different conclusion."
Yeah.
You don't even have to say that you and the sheriff's office conspired together to Brady me again.
Yeah.
You can just say it was, whatever. So then,
so you're up to the point that, so you're in point at, you've got the Officer Justin page made.
So now,
and you haven't announced it yet, but you're getting the building blocks in place.
Yep. So somewhere in there, I had formally announced, and building blocks are in place.
You announced you're running for sheriff against Wills.
Yep. So somewhere in this whole with the illegal traffic thing. So now fast forward to August, I believe it was. I gotta add one important piece here real quick. In the mix of all this, because I'm a cop in Outagamie County, which is Cheyenne, Outagamie decided to do their own review. This is very important. Okay, this is very important. Equally bizarre. They did an independent review, they called it. So they complete, middleman in this.
Mm-hmm.
They did everything. They open record in my file. They interviewed me. They interviewed my police chief, both police chiefs. They interviewed Kat Turner. And I know this because it's all documented. Like I said, most of this stuff that I state is objective. It's on paper. It's documented.
Yeah.
So she interviews Kat Turner. She interviews the sheriff's office, or not she, the DA of Outagamie.
Interviews all the players in the game. Yeah,
Everybody gets
everybody.
interviewed. Everything gets open. They dig into it wide open. And they release, I want to say it was a 10-page memo, July 1st. So it would have been before August. So it would have been, this would have been July. July 1st, they released a 10-page memo,
July 1st of
2025.
okay.
So not even a year.
Last year.
Yeah, just coming up on a year ago. July 1st, 2025, they released a memo out of Gaming County DA's office stating in all three categories, one, my original not remembering calling records.
Yeah.
There was a second one that we didn't talk about, but it was some other random off the wall
Another situation.
That one, and then the traffic stop. All three, not Brady.
So basically,
now
let's simplify it though. They basically said that in the three situations that they were attacking you for, that you were found to be truthful.
Yep.
Because
now to Gaming County DA's office. Yep.
They basically said you were legit, you're cleared.
Yep. So that was July 1st. Again, documented and on my website. July 2nd, I believe it was. I'm going to say I believe because I don't remember if it was July 3rd.
Pretty shortly afterwards.
Yeah, but like within
the next week.
hours afterwards.
Yeah.
The next week, DA Turner and Sheriff's Office personnel, admin, get a hold of Outagamie County DA's office and said, there's some new evidence that we want you to see to consider for your review. Fast forward, I want to say it was October 1st or first part of October.
Later in the year.
A couple months later, they released an amendment stating not Brady on the two items, but for the whole record, forgetting to call the records clerk, they changed their mind and said that's Brady. So then I asked the $1 million question on social media and direct to the DA's office. I said, if everybody was interviewed, everything was dug into, right? Why wasn't I just Brady to begin with then? It took the sheriff's office and DA Turner to get a hold of you the very next day or several hours later to be like, here, look at some new, look at this, look at some new evidence. And now all of a sudden, now it changed.
What was the new evidence?
Good question. I would like to know. Because I don't know.
So what did Outagamie say?
Outagamie said upon further review, because they said apparently Wapaka submitted all these.
So they submit the new evidence, and then Outagamie says what?
So then Outagamie says, based on review of this new, I didn't say evidence, but the new information or documentation provided, by DA Turner and Sheriff's Office, that based on him stating that he didn't call a records clerk when he indeed did call a records clerk, a Brady notification is necessary. So that's how that was. That's how that was worded. So,
but just to clarify though, the evidence, because I want to be very transparent.
Yeah, oh yeah,
with everybody here, because we're drifting into territory where I don't want to be brought up on defamation charges. So that's where I'm trying to clarify your language and things like that, because, and I'm going to say openly, I am willing to have Sheriff Wills on. I'm willing to have District Attorney Turner on. And I will say this, I've actually had interactions with District Attorney Turner because I was shadowing another lawyer watching a case down here in Wapaka County.
Nice.
And she was the DA and I was shadowing the attorney that she was going up against. And I had pleasant interactions with her. She was actually pretty cool, hanging out afterwards. Like we chatted for, I think, 5 minutes or so. I'm willing to have anybody on to say any side that they want to have. I'm bringing you on right now to have your side of the story. And I just want to make that clear because I am threading the needle. I'm not looking to get sued for defamation in this whole thing. But I do want the truth to come out. And I believe there's your side, their side, the truth, and somewhere in the middle of this entire thing. Yep. But the biggest thing is everybody look at the open records requests.
Exactly.
Because that, for people that don't know what open records requests are, and I want to continue to clarify it, open records requests, you can go in and find the email documentation, you can find the police reports, you can find any information that, because when you are an agent of the government, you can go in and find out any agent or most agents of the government and find out the information on what did they email back and forth when he was talking about sending an email to District Attorney Turner.
Yep, documented.
That kind of stuff is the stuff that you can file an open records request for.
Yep.
So I just want to say all that because people are gonna. I know people are gonna wonder on right now why I'm threading the needle. That's exactly why I'm threading the needle, and you know that.
Yeah, and
So
by all means, I love how transparent, how open and honest you are because,
I mean, otherwise I can keep it mysterious and clandestine, but I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, I'm willing to have anybody on and get this story cleared up, but
really,
you're the one that I've reached out to. I've been talking with.
yeah,
So
and really, with the exception of, like you said, taking my word on like, oh, like what was it like within the sheriff's office? What was it? Those types of questions, yeah, there's no documentation that exists
exactly.
that proves what I'm saying. But when we're talking about like what you're saying, quote unquote, threading the needle, everything's documented.
Exactly.
So none of this stuff that I bring up in regards to communications between DAs, communications between the chief and lieutenant, and all these factors, it's all documented.
The tricky part,
everything is documented.
Yeah, but the tricky part is, though, is it doesn't matter what you can prove. It depends how much money you've got to fight off a lawsuit. Because I know when you get sued for defamation or get sued for anything else, it turns into this whole situation where who's willing to put up more money? And I'm not looking to get into a money game, but I want to continue digging into the story. I just want to make that very clear to everybody, because if I'm changing your wording or like trying to correct things, or we're going back and forth, that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
thank you.
You betcha. So, okay, jumping through. So we've got, let's pick up where we left off. So they come back and in July, they come.
Yep. So July Outagamie states no Brady.
And then
three counts.
Later on, a couple months later, new evidence comes to surface that, and you've tried submitting open records requests, and
I still, to this day, I've sent at least 5, if not 6 emails.
Have friends done this, tried submitting open records requests or anything?
Well, it's funny you say that, because this particular recording that I was trying to get, the recording and and all the internal affairs type stuff with my calling the records clerk. I asked for all of that. Well, it got leaked out, and 3 weeks. So it was actually 21 days on the dot. So 21 days. So 3 weeks before the October whatever date when they said, oh, actually, after reviewing the new evidence, it's Brady. 3 weeks before I was notified of that. Oops, sorry for the noise. I just brushed the thing.
It's all good.
3 weeks before I was notified, the Republican Party released it.
Yeah.
So the sheriff's office didn't release it. My chief in Shiocton was never notified. She didn't have anything to release or call me and be like, hey, Justin, just so you know, they're changing their mind. The DA's office themselves didn't call me. Nothing. The only whatever you want to call it, affiliate or entity that released that information was the Republican Party of Waupaca. And as we talked off camera, they like me.
Yeah.
But so I mean, you tell me. I mean, and I think my post at the time, the heading on my post was "Tell me it's political without telling me it's political," because how does a political party? And I don't care if it's a Democrat party or if it's a Republican Party, Libertarian. I don't care which party it was.
Yeah.
If one party versus the other is getting information or privy to information that the person accused isn't even getting.
I will agree with you, but I will say anybody getting the information and unfortunately when you're in a small town, that's how it operates, that's how it goes. But yeah, I think anybody getting the information before you getting the information, because the tricky part is when you're doing open records requests, I mean, you should be given the information. I agree.
Yeah. And I was told, and this is a rabbit hole, but I was told that law states that the HR or the county needs to be letting me know that that's happening.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen either. But anyways,
no, I get it.
That that part out.
So okay, so you take.
Anyways,
I'm not blanking it out, but
oh great!
I hope not to my detriment. But so we go through this.
People a good laugh.
Yeah, basically. So you go through this entire thing, and at what point does so this comes out?
Yeah. So
what happens?
Yeah. Thank you, because probably the most important question of the night. So what happens? And I don't even know the answer. Really, I don't know the answer to this. So after that happens. That's October, like I said. I want to say within weeks, I have a drug case, a search warrant that I did on a house, and I ended up getting heroin and needles and all kinds of shit that was within arm's reach of a couple children that were in the house. I think like they were the ages like 3 and 5 or something like that. And beautiful arrest. It was, I mean, probable cause. We had a search warrant from a judge. I had talked to a district assistant district attorney, got permission for the, for the probable cause. My chief, my lieutenant, excuse me. My lieutenant even came in and like shadowed me on it to like make sure things were being done properly and everything. And all of a sudden we got a kickback saying no prosecution. And that was the writing on the wall. That was when, unfortunately, my heart hit my stomach at that point, because at that point I knew Wapaka had gotten to the DA in Columbia finally, after all this time, and she's giving up. She's saying, no, I'm not prosecuting anything that Justin has. And my chief asked, or went in and said, hey.
Did she say that, or like how did you find out?
So my chief went in, because we got an official no prosecution agreement, which is on my website.
Describe a no prosecution.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. It's pretty much if a DA decides not to charge somebody with a crime. So you say a person gets arrested, they get taken to jail, and then the next day they get to see a judge. Well, before they see a judge, the DA has to approve the charges. And if the DA says no prosecution, they release a memo to us saying why. Yeah. So for us, it was, I think I'm saying this word correctly, the veracity, right?
Veracity.
Yeah. Of the officer in this case, and I can't be trusted. It's pretty, not verbatim, but that's pretty much what she said. So my chief went up and talked with the DA and said, hey, there's kids involved here, like, and where is this coming from? Like, why? Why now? Yeah. We've been through all this with Wapaka, and now all of a sudden, a year out from the election, now we're going to do this. And she pretty much just said she can't trust me of all the information that she's obtained and gathered so far. And she can't have me on the stand. There's no way she'd be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt having me as a witness.
So you're basically called a liar by Outagamie County, and then down where you're working full time, they won't prosecute any of your cases because they don't feel that you're truthful.
Which is the most extreme, and this is coming right from the union. The union literally says that's like the worst case scenario. DAs don't have to do that. They have a wide array of discretion. DAs are one of the most powerful positions in the state in regards of discretion and what they can and cannot do and who can remove them and hold them accountable. And they have the discretion. Yeah. So it's very rare. And I talked to someone with the union that worked there for like 30 years, and they said they've never seen this happen to an officer, not even in Dane County. And Dane County has issues. Yeah. As a lot of people know.
Let's put it lightly.
Yeah. But that was their words. They haven't even seen that happen in Dane County. There's some officers apparently working around the state that shouldn't be even close to, wearing the gun and badge, and they're still working while they're Brady'd on the Brady list. So anyways, bringing it full circle, it doesn't happen very often, but I'm now on a no prosecution list in Columbia County, and she won't explain why. She won't say, hey, like, was it the traffic stop that I was being accused of?
So what happens? So they fire you?
So now my chief is saying, I'm still going to fight for you. Like, he literally outright said that's bullshit. He's like, business as usual. He goes, call one of us if you have a big arrest, and we'll try to come in so we can make sure things are being done appropriately. Well, shit you not, I'm on patrol. My lieutenant's working with me actually on the same shift. I'm on patrol in a school zone for when school gets out, for school crossing. And there was a car that come barreling through the school zone. I estimated like 35 miles an hour, but he was hauling, and it was scary. And I take off after him, I pull him over, and my lieutenant comes and takes over my investigation. He was drunk. 4th time OWI, felony OWI, involving children going through a school zone. And My lieutenant comes and takes over because he's like, I don't want this to get tossed. It's involving kids again. We can't have this get tossed. So my lieutenant comes over and takes over, does the whole thing, does field sobriety, arrests him, takes him to jail, warrant, everything. No prosecution from the DA because Officer Justin Malueg was the person who witnessed the original reason for the stop and pulled him over. So 4th time drunk driver going through school zone, 35 miles an hour, got tossed.
Let me get this straight. You're on a no prosecution list. This drunk barrels through a school zone, could have likely hit kids as school's getting out, right?
There's kids present, yes.
There's kids there, and an elementary school?
Middle school, high school.
Middle school, high school, kids are hanging out around, and all of a sudden, this guy drunk off his ass barrels through, and you're telling me the DA didn't prosecute it?
And it was recorded on a school bus. So I took, listen to this. This is me, right? This goes back to how I was raised. So I'm like, okay, I can picture where this is going. I don't want kids to be involved. I don't want this case to be lost with kids being involved again. I'm going to do my due diligence and I'm going to contact the bus company. I'm going to say, hey, can I just get the video just in case, right? So that way it's the bus driver's camera that captures this car barreling through, and it's no longer Officer Justin's testimony.
Yeah.
I also submitted that, and she wouldn't do it. So yes, you are correct. That's exactly correct. All because of what? We don't know. She wouldn't tell us.
This is absolutely insane. I mean, like, I get politics, like, oh, you're not going to do this, and we're going to fight you a little bit on this. This is batshit fucking crazy.
Yeah. Thank you for putting it so brilliantly, because that's exactly what it is. And I said in the very beginning, I said there will people that watch this and will not believe it until they open record this themselves. And
so where can they go? Where can they go to get the information on this one?
So there's 2 ways. One, it's all on my website. If you want to do it the formal,
give them the formal way.
The formal legal way is through open records. So you can file an open records request through the Outagamie County DA's office, Sheriff's office, Wapaka County DA's office, Wapaka County Sheriff's office,
in Columbia County.
I'm going through all where to get all of this to make it like all.
Yeah, but I think this is the smoking gun. I mean,
so specific to Columbia County DA, you can open record it through the Poinet Police Department. They have the no prosecution agreements. I have them on my website, but
yeah, but the thing that gets me is like this entire situation. I can understand a little bit of a pissing fight, like okay, it's a pissing match. You guys are going back and forth, and they don't want you hired here. They're trying to get you fired. That makes sense. I mean, from my perspective, because again, from what I'm hearing from you with this whole thing, that it's no different than I worked in the pro audio industry. There were guys that worked for my former company, and then would go work elsewhere. And next thing you know, they'd be fighting back and forth, and this company might try to get that person fired, or allegedly, I guess. This has all gotten to the point where it's actually endangering kids. Like that's the part that I'm sorry, but I'm a firm believer that like when it comes to endangering kids, I don't care if you want to go take yourself out back or go take another adult out back and go beat the shit out of them. Like if you guys want to go consensually fight to settle things in the backyard, like that's how I was raised. I mean, me and my brothers Dad had a set of boxing gloves. There were some cheap ones, and for fun, we used to go out in the yard and fight on the trampoline, and somebody come in crying, and next time you'd come in crying, but with this whole thing, wow, I mean, when it gets to the point where kids are put in danger because barreling through school zones typically about 15 miles an hour, right?
Correct. When children are present.
And when children are present, like you got to think, I get they're middle school and high schoolers, but like all it takes is them dicking around, which is very real. Like that happens at school. I remember we used to throw backpacks around or things like that. Yeah. And next thing you know, it just happens to fall into the street, or a kid has a phone that falls out of the backpack into the street.
Scenarios.
Exactly. Jumps out in 35 miles an hour in a space where you're used to seeing the psychology of it. You're used to seeing somebody go through at 15 miles an hour. It's like going through like this.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, your brain's trained. You're like, oh, my phone just jumped on the street. I'm going to go run and grab it. And then all of a sudden, somebody goes more than twice the speed limit barreling.
And he was actually coming off of a side street, accelerating, so you could actually hear. That's what caught my attention, was the revving of the engine, of the putting the pedal down to the floor. And,
a couple steps away from yelling. That pisses me off.
Yeah, honestly, and I was 3 seconds from wiping my eyes right there, because I was like, that's the emotion inside of me, because of the whole kids thing, and I can't help but thinking of the search warrant with the 3-year-old and the 5-year-old. So this is how serious how
Yeah.
much this means to me. Is you have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old left in a house with dad. Dad's watching the kids. I don't know what the custody arrangement was. Don't care. But in the house with the dad, there's a bathtub half filled with water. There's a loaded syringe in a drawer. There's Suboxone, which is a narcotic, which is a painkiller, in another drawer. And then there's a bunch of other drug paraphernalia everywhere. Dad's unconscious, actively overdosing, is how it was described to us when mom comes in to try getting a hold of the kids. Actively overdosing and unconscious while these kids are alone with all that in there. No prosecution. I even had a rider with me. He's from here. A little buddy of mine that goes to high school here in town, and he wants to be a police officer when he gets older. And he came all the way down there to ride with me that night. He was actually with me, so he was another witness to the whole thing. I mean, he witnessed the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's in the squad for some of it, but he was in there helping me search and he was with me when I found the loaded syringe and everything. Still wouldn't prosecute it. And it's all, and I even sent an email. So I filed a lot. So this is kind of where it comes full circle. So I filed a lawsuit. It's called a writ of mandamus, which for people I don't know, it's when a court has, don't quote me on the verbiage, but like a necessity or the authority to act and they don't, or they refuse to, you can file this lawsuit and the court can force the DA or a records clerk or the court can get involved and force
the judge makes the decision. The DA is actually the one that throws down the hammer.
Exactly. So I filed a lawsuit and I said, hey, kids, leave me out of this. The kids are involved, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't get a reason, a whole affidavit, everything from the beginning of the Wapaka stuff that we just talked about all the way through the end. And they actually stated, again, open records, they actually stated in a response to get it dismissed that everything Officer Malueg had stated was something along the lines of true and accurate, or the DA of Columbia County wasn't rebuting, wasn't revettling or whatever.
They weren't refuting.
Refuting, that's what I'm trying to say. Refuting the affidavit. So in essence, saying everything that Justin has here is the truth. However, what they relied on was the DA has the discretion on if she can charge a case for an officer or not. It's up to the DA. The only way to fix that is to have a DA removed. So that's where we are today. Well, actually, I guess not, because I didn't get to the part of resigning. But that's kind of where we're at today, because they filed that appeal or the motion to dismiss, and then the judge granted it because the DA by statute has
the power to do that.
Has the power to say, hey, you officer, because.
So at what point do you get taken off?
That's where I'm at right now, today.
So do you still work for Poinat?
Nope. So I work in Shiocton, but I'm trying to communicate with the Department of Administration.
So when did you leave Poinat?
So
what happened?
So right after that, the union gets involved, and because my chief is like, my hands are tied. Like the village, you can't be you know what I mean? Like he's not going to fire me. He literally tells me, I'm not going to fire you. But how do you do your job?
Can't.
So I ended up signing a resignation agreement. And everybody, of course, says,
smart move.
Oh yeah, for sure. Everybody, I was going to make him fire me because I'm like,
it's not fair.
But
I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. You're doing more harm than good at that point.
Right. And like my chief said when we had the emotional conversation at my kitchen table, he goes, we can't have any more kids suffer or, be exposed to this or not have justice. You know what I mean? Like we can't have another victim, another child, involved in a case that's not going to get prosecuted. I said, I know.
Let me tell you something, Justin, that I've never even talked about on a podcast, and I very seldomly talk about with people in general. So I ended up, the guy who when I say I played in Nashville, I ended up having a buddy. His name was Nolan Neal, and he was on The Voice at America's Got Talent.
Nice.
So he was a badass.
and he looked like a pirate, but he was a pretty normal dude. And he sang Tiny Dancer and got up there and sang it. And so he had a studio across from Blackbird Studios in Nashville, which Blackbird Studios is like the pinnacle. Like there are like the big studios in the world. There's like Abbey Road, Blackbird, and East West and Sunset Sound. Like those are like the top.
Yeah.
So down there, I ended up, so he used to be big into drugs, got out of it, and then ended up getting back in briefly, but then got himself clean again. And I knew him throughout a 2-year span. And I used to hang out with him in the studio. We used to chat. We were friends. And he ended up calling me. I went down there and visited him a couple times. He went to rehab, got back. He called me and he's like, "Hey, let's get together. Let's write some music. Let's do some stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I was busy and everything else because, as life happens. Next thing you know, he ended up getting just a bad string of events. Got dropped from his gig at a really good hotel in town, got dropped from a couple other things, and had a couple artists drop him. Next thing you know, he's found dead on his basement floor from a cocaine overdose. So when it comes down to not prosecuting these cases and not getting rid of this stuff, working in the music industry, you see everything. Like it's when they say that there's drugs involved in the music industry, it's very real. And especially when you combine that's sensitive. But then when you combine kids involved, especially with drugs, that kind of stuff is just.
Oh yeah, it stabbed me.
Wow.
I don't even know. People ask me after that. I very seldom get to tell my whole story like this, beginning to end. But when I do, people halfway through, they don't even get to the kids part, and they halfway through, they're like, "How can you even? Why do you want to still be a cop? You know what I mean? Like, why do you want to still keep fighting like that?" But you bring up that, and I'm glad you did, because that's one big thing, huge thing I'm an advocate for, is getting help. Mm-hmm. Treating people like, okay, like their second chance might be their 20th try. You know what I mean? Like, maybe after they overdosed 5 or 6 times or 20 times, I know somebody had overdosed over 50 times and they came back and they're a success story.
Exactly.
Their true second chance was like their 51st
100%
chance. And I'm like, I'm huge on that stuff. And there's so many people, I say people, not just cops, but so many people that I don't know if they just don't get it, or if they just don't care, or if it's like it doesn't affect them, so they just don't really have that true understanding. But there's so many people that just treat them like numbers, and it makes me sick.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I want to help. I want to be able to help people, because when you see these success stories in drug court, for example, Shawano County, that's where I'm originally from. That's where I did Explorers. I worked part-time up there. Shawano County has a drug court where you succeed, or you get clean, you go through whatever, you succeed. They'll have everybody in there. They'll have a representative from every corner of the county clapping, everybody's cheering, and I think they even give them like a cake or something, like to congratulate them and shit like that. Why can't we treat people like that? And I get people that reach out to me all the time. I'm sure after they see this, I'm going to get a lot more messages, but I get messages all the time of just people who are related to inmates, or they were inmates, or whatever, having to do with the jail in Wapaka, and how they're treated so unfairly. I think I mentioned off camera, maybe it was on camera. Yeah, I don't think it was on camera. My mother-in-law was a jail sergeant.
Yep, saw that on camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't care. She doesn't care. I say she's retired.
Yeah.
So one less headache for her now. But she was there. So she kind of would give me some of the inside scoop on some of the stuff that was going on. But now that you actually hear it from real people, real people that were either inmates, addicts, locked up for whatever reason, family members that are like, hey, you should check into this whole jail situation because this is how they were treated, or hey, check into this because this is what. Some of it's obviously a grievance, like, hey, they're pissed off because they felt like they were wrongfully arrested. You're going to have those types of people, okay? I've been a cop for going on 14 years. I can read through those types of people.
Yeah.
The ones I'm talking about here with you today are the ones that are legit. They either have some kind of documentation to prove it, or just something to show for that they were treated unfairly.
Yeah.
And when you get dozens and dozens, I can't even put a number on it. I probably had over 100 people message me about it. Yeah. And it's all like similar type stuff, and it's pattern like type behavior. How can you not believe that? I just talked. Let me bring this up quick.
Yeah.
I just talked about this on my Facebook today. There's a thing in law enforcement called totality of the circumstances. And what that means is when you take a bunch of information, individual pieces of information, and you put them together. For example, if you see someone swerving down the highway, what could be wrong?
They could be on their phone. They could be drunk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now if you're swerving down the highway, you stop them. They reek like booze. They said they were coming from a bar. They admitted to drinking. They're staggering. They're staggering or everything. What's most likely wrong with them?
They're drunk.
Okay. So that's totality of circumstances. If just one little piece of that puzzle, you can't judge a situation. You can't judge somebody off of that one piece of a puzzle. But now, like in this case, where you're getting over 100 people that message me just on the jail alone, and then other things too, like victim rights is a big one that people message me about. But you get all these people, and you put them all together, and it's all totality. It's all the same type of complaints coming from individual people. How can you say they're lying? That's what, you know what I mean? That's why I truly think that there's a need for a systematic change in the county. And I'm not just talking the sheriff's office. I'm talking or sheriff's office admin. I'm talking as a whole. I'm talking
Give people second chances.
through the jail, from how you treat people in the jail to how you treat people on the street, one another.
I do think that's one thing that because I'd seldomly make my political views known just because the nature of my work. But that's one thing I do believe, just especially with Nolan and other people, it's because you're right. It's one of those things that's a far away distance thing. Like, but I'm a firm believer in those people just need chances. Like, there's a lot of different, like I volunteered with the Joseph Project. And the Joseph Project, for those that don't know, what they do is they grab these guys and gals that are getting out of prison, because when you're in prison for 10 years, if you were to take and jump 10 years into the future and imagine missing 2010 to 2020 and you jump back in 2021, how do you jump back in when the iPod 4 is not a thing anymore?
Exactly.
And the iPhone 15 is like
flip phones.
exactly. Like, what's a flip phone? And everybody's, how do you acclimate back into society after missing that much because you don't keep up with that in prison? And I was a big believer in it. I got pulled into it from a friend, and I ended up helping all the way up until it got out of Wassa. And I believe that a lot of those people need a chance, because you see those guys get out of there, and a lot of them, the Joseph Project, they believe that you also had to include the faith component, because in order for lasting change, so these guys and gals would get out, they'd have drug offenses, murder charges, like anything that you can think of, they've got, like,
Yep.
but you get in there and you can tell they're actually making an effort at it. And most people would look at it and say, well, they can't just get a job. When you haven't worked for 10 plus years and you don't even know what the hell an iPhone is, you've never even heard of Uber, what are you supposed to do? Like,
exactly.
And that's where I think a lot of those guys need the opportunity, because the success rate, especially with the Joseph Project, is insane.
Yep.
I mean, it's incredible, because most people get out of jail and what do? Like, you don't know what to do.
I was just going to say
the only thing that you know to do is go right back to prison.
I was just going to say, bring it down to a smaller scale. Jail.
Yep.
You're in for a couple months, or usually it's upwards of a year, unless you're being held for something else. But
your life crumbles.
yeah, I mean, bring it down to that smaller scale. Door opens. Here's your stuff. Have a nice day. You know how many times where I've gotten called from people I've arrested, and they're like, "Hey, is there any way that you could run me back to Wyega or Manawa or whatever?" Like, sorry, man. Like, like we don't do that. We can't.
Yeah,
I mean, as much as I would love to,
exactly,
we just can't do that. It's going to do it for everybody.
And that's one of that comes down to the next issue, is because we're gonna get back to your story in a second, but you've also got the just the court docket itself that is so backed up that you may be innocent and waiting for your innocence to be proven for, like you said, a year, a few months. And if you don't have the stuff in place, next thing you know, by the time you get out after being proven innocent, your house is foreclosed on, your job is no longer available, your business is collapsed. Because let's say you're a landscaper. I mean,
enough times they call you and they can't reach you, your name's going to come around town that
Oh, for sure.
you must not be in business anymore.
Yep.
Your life basically crumbles and you got to start over from square one, and you didn't do anything.
I just had one. Funny you say that. I just had one. It wasn't landscaping, but it was something hands-on.
Yeah.
Can't remember now. It was a few weeks back. But I work part-time now also at the Department of Corrections, where I go around and
Yeah.
install ankle bracelets and stuff on people, and I also monitor like sex offenders.
Yeah.
And there was one at a probation office that he had just gotten out. He was only in, I want to say, for a week. I think it was like a week. And he got out and was putting on the bracelet, and his biggest concern was his job. I'm like, oh man, I hope you still have your job, or whatever. And he turned on his phone, must have had a voicemail or something. I don't know, something on there from the boss, and he goes, yeah, I still have my job. And I'm like, oh man, just hearing it, like, that's huge. Like, normal Joe Schmo, whatever cop, whoever, correctional officer, probation agent would be like, oh yeah, like, big deal, like, you got a job, like,
and
see ya and have a nice day.
Exactly. What's cool is, like, when you look at policing around the world, especially the jail systems across the entire world, it's drastic. Like, you've got, I think it's Scandinavian prisons, is it, where they've got like basically a resort.
Oh yeah, there's countries that are like, it's night and day difference.
Exactly. You go to jail and it's like going to summer camp.
Yeah.
Except with just some savory characters.
Yeah.
But there's different ways to go about it, but I agree. I think that there's a need for change, especially when it comes to drug offenses and things like that, because I mean, it's an epidemic. It's getting crazy. Like in Wausau, there's a boatload of meth.
Oh yeah, meth came down from Minnesota over the last time. When I first started here, this was overdose capital. Like, everybody was like, oh, why are we getting, why are we got another overdose and why are we getting another overdose and why are we getting, and we were the first department in the county to start carrying Narcan, which I thought was a proud moment. Yeah. Just personally, because I'm like, hey, we get to save somebody that's overdosing, which this might be a rabbit hole again, but there's so many people that don't believe in that. And I had a post just recently and I got brutally attacked.
They don't believe in Narcan?
I had made a comment about how, I think it was in another interview or something, I had made a comment about how people, I'll say people, but officers don't believe in second chances. So like they make nasty comments about having to use Narcan, like, why is medicine, why is this medicine free, but other people, certain things were like, okay, I agree to an extent, but like, this is also, these people also don't deserve to die, you know what I mean?
And that's where it gets so crazy, because then you start talking methadone, then you start talking like LA with too much Narcan.
Exactly.
And it comes down to, there needs to be a solid, at least from my experience and from what I've seen, there needs to be a solid support structure in place, because a lot of times the drugs are not the problem. The drugs are the symptom to the problem.
Yep.
And I even carry Narcan.
A wannabe solution is what I always call it. It's a wannabe solution. It's hey, kind of giving up, or they got this going on, so hey,
and honestly,
nothing else to live for, type of thing.
Yeah, and like I told you, I want to say that I even carry Narcan, because what did it for me was of course Nolan, but also I heard the story, because of course being in Wausau, it's got the high potential of being a major drug capital, just because you got all these highways that take you. Yeah, but it was crazy, because they used to tell you what the effects were, as far as like they were talking about what's the drug that if it gets on you, you can just overdose. So fentanyl. They were talking about how they had to rip out the complete interior of a police vehicle because some of it got on the floor. Yeah. So they ripped out the seats and everything. But what totally just destroyed me, and the reason that I carry Narcan with me, because I hang out with some unsavory characters, but I hang out with all walks of life, It's the nature of the business.
Yeah.
But there was a 5-year-old girl. Did you hear this story? It was a few years back.
Maybe.
There was a 5-year-old girl. She was in a Target or a Walmart parking lot, some superstore.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And she ended up picking up like a $5 bill off the ground. And next thing you know, she's overdosing and died.
Yep. Money is the dirt. I mean, I tell people all the time, you pick up dollar bill, currency, you're wearing gloves. Sometimes even 2 pairs of gloves.
Exactly, but it's a kid.
But yeah,
no, you're right.
But yeah,
what kid is going to look at that and say, like $1 when you're a child is like, oh my gosh, I'm rich,
Exactly.
And
going to piggy bank.
Exactly. Goes down to the dollar. I guess the dollar store is not really a thing anymore, but
yeah, it's $1.25.
It's $1.25, $10.
But still, it means the world to a kid.
Exactly, and that just destroyed their family.
Oh, my Lord.
So I agree with you.
And don't get me wrong, and
Yeah.
I have to say this. Drug dealer, drugs are bad. We know that, right? Drug dealers are bad.
Yeah.
We know that. I will be the sheriff that's tough on the drugs, but
Yeah.
you have to have that type of you have to have a different type of approach. The whole lock away the problem is not going to cut it.
Yeah.
And people take that and they portray that, because I've seen it as recently as today. Again, another comment on Facebook about how I'm going to be soft on crime. Soft on crime sheriff, especially because he's not a Republican and all this type of, running as independent. So I'm going to let all these drug dealers go.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. I've seen it all these comments. I want people to know, and truly understand that political affiliation, drugs has no political affiliation. I guarantee you the parents of that little girl, the 5-year-old, could give a shit less on politics when something like that's happening. If the sheriff was a Republican or not. You know what I mean? But regardless, you can't lock away the problem.
Yeah.
So I want people to know, yes, we need to fix the problem. Yes, the drug unit will stay intact. There will still be drug operations. There's still going to be search warrants. Drug dealers, we're coming after you. Okay. But, there needs to be a but. The ones that want to get clean, the ones that want the help, this goes for mental health. Oh, don't get me going on that. I'm huge on mental health. Mental health, alcoholism, so on and so forth. If you want the help and you're just in a bad spot and you feel like you're stuck and you need resources, I'm going to be the sheriff. We're going to be the sheriff's office that's going to hopefully help you with that. Hopefully point you in the right direction, give you some resources, not just treat you as a number and say, oh, hey, busted another one for second offense, possession of marijuana. You know what I mean?
That's a whole other rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah, it's a whole other rabbit hole. But you see it though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see it it's treated so it's so backwards.
You're right. I mean,
I shouldn't have said marijuana because marijuana doesn't have addictive properties like heroin and fentanyl and meth does.
Yeah.
So I should have stayed on track with the opiates and the.
No, I get what you're saying.
But,
I mean, it's
But nonetheless, we can't just say, "Hey, got them. They're locked up. We're good now. Everything's good."
Exactly.
That doesn't fix it.
I can tell you. I mean, look, like you said, looking at the people to get out, and the reason there's such a high is it resurgence rate or I'm thinking I can't remember the R word.
Yeah, I know.
Basically, people going out of prison and then just committing another
Relapse.
crime. Yeah, relapsing.
Yeah.
The reason that happens, I mean, it's a thing. And that's the tricky part when it comes down to politics, when it comes down to right versus left, is everybody wants to fix the problem, and it just comes down to how you're going to fix it and what the best mentality is.
Yeah.
And we've got our own views. Mine doesn't matter because all I do is I do marketing and I run a podcast. And I'm an entrepreneur.
In all fairness, mine shouldn't matter either.
Exactly.
When it comes to this position.
Correct, because it's sheriff. It doesn't matter if the person's got a D or an R next to their name.
Exactly.
When you're calling somebody in the middle of the night to come save you, he's not going to look at you and say, well, are you a registered Democrat?
Exactly.
So,
and I truly do think people get, people do get the big picture. And that's why I know maybe this is something for off camera, but why we would have, a good conversation on our differences on independent versus Republican versus being party affiliated.
Yeah.
But that's really what it boils down to is nobody cares. And as long as everybody's getting treated, fair.
Yeah.
People are, and I'm talking employees, are getting promoted based on merit, based on quality, not based on favoritism, or sexism, whatever, because there's been an issue with that in Wapaka too in the past. Lawsuits, documented, open records. But anyways, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
None of that matters. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the getting quality treatment.
Yeah.
Or being treated equally and fairly.
So
regardless of your political view, regardless of your male and female, gay, straight, it doesn't matter.
Let's jump over to why you're running for sheriff, because we've gone through this entire story. Is there anything else you want to add to because the saga ends with you now work for Shiocton.
Yeah, part-time.
And you're running for sheriff.
Running for sheriff.
And then of course there's a bunch of other stuff that's happened after you ran for sheriff and announced it and everything else. But that I look at, that's political. I mean that's nitpicky.
We did a very thorough job at explaining it. I must say,
Correct.
seriously, it's been a while since I've been able to actually like thoroughly, wholeheartedly, you
Yeah.
know, like tell my side of the story.
And like I said, I'm giving District Attorney Turner and Sheriff what's his last name?
Wills, yeah, no,
Wills.
you're good, yeah.
I get both you guys have the opportunity to come on and say your side of the story. I'm more than open to it. Justin's come on and said his. But
So let's get down to, so why are you running for sheriff? So you see a lot of this stuff. What got you to the point where you're at, and what are you doing now? And just
Yeah.
give me that full chapter of your life now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. It's a combination of a lot of things we talked about. Primarily being raised, how I was raised, and what I want to bring to the table, not only for my employees but for the community.
Mhm.
You know, the main focus or the main position for the sheriff's position or for being sheriff is. Let me back up because now
you're good.
I was looking where you're looking again.
it's all good. So when those two
You
red
do,
lights,
you do cut that, right?
no,
Oh God. Okay.
no, we're on cut.
All right. Okay. Okay. Pretend it didn't happen and go. I want employees and so. Oh, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Is the main focus or the main position of sheriff is to be that liaison between the public
Yeah.
and the sheriff's office, the government. And what better way to do that than to be involved in your community and to want to bring those positive morals, ethics, everything I was raised on. You know what I mean? Like the stuff we just talked about with being an advocate for the drug problem, alcoholism, mental health, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And just being that person that can hopefully try to fix it or at least offer solutions. I just feel like right now, and again, you can call it bashing, call it whatever you want. I try not to be negative, and I hate being negative. But right now, that's not happening. A lot of this stuff is not happening. Outside of it being an election year, and the few community things that the sheriff's office offers, there's no community engagement. There's no offering the resources for these people that need help. The favoritism's strong. Promised I wouldn't say this term on air again, but the good old boys club. It's live and well. I just had somebody actually. It's like, Justin, how can you get away from that term when people come up to you and use it? I had somebody yesterday because we were out delivering signs. Somebody complete outsider, has nothing to do with any of this. Said that they can see it. They're like, we don't really follow you or know what's going on, but we can see it. So, anyways, all that type of stuff. That's the type of stuff that needs to change.
Yeah.
And knowing that you can do it, and I feel like I can do it by being respectful, being that, that leader that leads by example. Not we're gonna completely get rid of the whole "do as I say, not as I do" type of hypocrisy that's happening right now in that sheriff's office. And not only is it going to be good, like I said, for the employees, it's going to benefit the community.
Yeah.
The community members, you're going to get better service, better high quality customer service from a sheriff's office that has a leader that actually cares.
Yeah.
And that's what it all boils down to. I want to be that person. I want to be that resource. I want to be that advocate for Waupaca County. And most times when people say, well, why do you want to be a cop? Or why do you want to do this? Most times it's I want to help people, or I don't want to be that leader. I want to be that leader. I want to do that. It's these textbook answers. And for me, it just goes hell of a lot deeper than that. And it's because of good experiences, Poinet, Chiocton, working now through the DOC. And then it comes from bad experiences.
Yeah.
The stuff we talked about with Waupaca, and there's other situations or examples I could give of other departments too. But
exactly. I mean, the one thing I want to say too is everybody wants to talk about how it's defund the police or it's we need to hold cops to a higher standard. And you guys have been under scrutiny for a few years. So it's kind of lessened, but it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, people are going to make mistakes. and that I don't care who it is. I've made mistakes in my life. Anybody who says that they are perfect and never made a mistake in their life, they are so full of shit. So it's
full of shit.
When you're looking at it, I mean, like you, it's if you make a mistake, you can come back and make it right. Whether that be as a police officer, honestly, whether that be as a grocer, if you take and forget to scan a couple of apples and you're like, oh crap, I scanned 3 instead of 5. Like, you can always go back and make it right, but you got to start with being honest. You got to start with saying that you made a mistake. Because I made mistakes with the clients before, and I come to them. I'm like, hey, I meant this. I didn't. I did that wrong. I want to take and redo that, and no charge to you. But it's about making that right. And I like your approach to things, and I like what you talked about. And this, if anything, this illuminates all the mystery that's been going on, because it's up to a few million views. Like, millions.
If you go back to like, what was it? Probably about a month ago. When I first started like posting some of the interview stuff and like doing all my own like self what do you want to call it, like podcasts or whatever. If you go back, you can check the settings on Facebook, and you go back like 28 days is like the most recent or whatever that you can do. And at the highest, it was 1.2 million. I mean, how do you get that if you're just talking bullshit and none of this is true? You know what I mean? Like,
it resonates with somebody.
It resonates with somebody. And like I said, what really keeps me going, other than my wife and my kids pushing me and staying positive, being my cheerleaders, is people that message me and say, hey, we're listening. We're not commenting. We're not going to like anything. We're not going to put a sign in our yard. But by God, we're following you, and you have mine and my whole family support. I get that so often. Man, does that gives me the hope. But I want to just elaborate on one point. I have messed up. Okay. In case anybody has never actually officially heard me say that, I have messed up. I have made mistakes. I have been disciplined within Wapaka County. I've done things I wish I would have done differently. And I stated that I didn't call a records clerk that led us to this whole Brady situation when I shouldn't have said that. Like you said, sometimes you say things you don't mean to say, or vice versa. And that's the case. I apologize, but I want it to be elaborated that I'm able. I can. I can look people in the face and say, "Hey, like, I'm sorry.
Like
I wish I would have did it or said it differently. That was not my intention."
I gotta say though, people. On a personal note, I want to say, like, because I really came into this whole thing, or let me just say, so with my ex-fiance, her family, that was one of the hardest parts, and I probably shouldn't even be saying this publicly, because I know she's gonna watch this. I know. I still love her. She's amazing. But the biggest thing that I realized through that whole experience was that we were kind of raised different than most people, because my family was the same way. I remember I could yell, scream at my dad. My dad could do something, and we could come back together and be like, I didn't mean that. It could be 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days. You could come back together and you could say, you know what? I didn't mean that. And it was water under the bridge, because I remember,
hey, what I said back there.
Exactly. And I had it happen with that, and I remember I confronted somebody. I should keep that all vague. It's fresh, but yeah, I had confronted somebody, and it's like, it's okay to make mistakes. As long as most people are not going to put your feet to the fire and just burn you as like, you made this mistake, how dare you? And you're like, I'm sorry. They're not going to just sit there and kick you when you're down. They're going to say, hey, if you're open with people, they're going to be open with you, and you can be like, hey, I messed up. And they'll welcome you back with open arms. That's how it works.
For sure. 110%. I love that you brought that up, because that is why I love being an instructor. Law enforcement instructor. I haven't even posted anything on this yet, but I just recently got certified to be a CPR instructor.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's one thing I want to offer to Wapaka County, hopefully at no cost, because I'm a big believer that more people need to be trained and stuff like that. But anyways, point being, I absolutely love that. And there's so many times I have gotten points or certain learning objectives or whatever through to people, either on the street as a field training officer or in the classroom as an instructor. So many times where they came back and they're like, hey, like, nobody's ever explained it to me like that, or nobody's ever like said that to me.
Yeah.
there's a full-time deputy right now that's working for Wapaka. Again, not gonna say names, but when he first started, it was one of those things where it was like, hey, like, question about this, question about that, question about this, because he knew I would explain it, decent
Yeah.
enough to where he understood it. But I also treated him like a person too. I didn't act like he was an idiot or like arrogant or like really you weren't fucking taught that when you were in field, or when you were with the last trainer or whatever, or you weren't taught that in the academy. Talk to him like a person, just like this.
Yeah.
This is how I am with everybody. I mean, even when people screw up. So I trained part-timers when I was here in Malueg. Same thing. There could be the worst screw up where I'm like, holy shit, like yes, this needs to be addressed type of thing. However, you can still do it decently and respectively and allow them to have their dignity. Because I've been trained by some piss poor field training officers, not with Wapaka in this case, but I've had that experience, and it is the worst feeling in the world. Nothing sucks more than when you have somebody. Nothing sucks more than having somebody hovering over your shoulder to begin with. when you're making life or death situations, or potentially violating somebody's rights. But then when you have somebody that's an asshole and is breathing down your neck, and you're going to get your ass chewed, and they're going to be an arrogant prick.
You're not.
You're setting them up for failure.
Yeah.
Okay, now take that from a training perspective. This is where people are like, "Oh, he has no leadership experience because he's never been a supervisor." Okay, listen to this. Take that from the road, training somebody on the road, and take that into an administrative position. It's no different than, say, I have to have somebody come in for discipline. You can still get the point through by disciplining somebody for something that they fucked up on, but still get through to them that you're not an asshole, and that, hey, like, you still got your you still have their best interests in mind. You're still going to have their back. You're still going to go out there and take a bullet potentially for them. That's what they're missing right now. I'm telling you right now, that's what they're missing. They're missing that on the street, and they're missing that in the administrative role, because I've seen it in both ways. I've seen it on the road, obviously, and then I've been disciplined multiple times. And when you leave that element of, hey, I'm a person too, out of it, it just creates that shitty feeling, man. And I don't want any of my employees to ever feel like that, like they're not worth it, or like they're less of themselves because they screwed up. And don't get me wrong, depending what it is, obviously, right? Like,
Of course.
like, hey,
There's a difference.
like, hey, you did something like absolutely horrible.
The hammer's coming down.
The hammer's coming down. But I'm saying, like, simple, all this nitpicking and all the shit that they do. You know what I mean? Like,
you're right, and that's one of the things I tell every single person, that because in business dealings, people always forget there's a human being on the other end of that negotiation, and everything is a negotiation. Everything in life, from my perspective, because if you're trying to negotiate a raise, that's different. But if you're trying to just get along with somebody, that's a negotiation of what am I willing to offer vulnerability wise. What are they willing to offer, and what are we willing to work together on? What are the things, because it's like a Democrat and a Republican being friends. Like,
seriously.
You guys can be friends, but there are certain things you never ever bring that up. Like, there was a great story, and I guess we'll close it out on this. There was during World War II, I always heard this story from my dad. There was a Jewish family, and there was a staunch supporter of the Nazi Party and a Jewish family. And they would go back, I think it might have been Austria. Every weekend, they would get together after church, and they would go out in the field, and the guys would yell at each other. They did this for years. Just yell at each other. And they hated each other on this one topic. They'd get done with this, they'd go have dinner, or they'd go have lunch with their families together, and then they get in their cars and they leave, and they come back and do this every weekend for, I forget how many years. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's, because, I mean, the Democrat versus Republican thing, that's never going to get squared away. That's the age-old thing. But when you're talking stuff like this, is small-town politics and small-town tit for tat.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And
It's
blown so far out of proportion at this point that...
Yep. And, again, we can have a conversation about this till we're blue in the face, but I am a firm believer that's the element that's missing to this. And I'm talking the smaller town.
Yeah.
On a federal level too,
yeah,
national level, but But I'm talking like small town like this, like mayors, school boards,
Yeah.
city councils, sheriff, DA, that type of stuff. That's truly what's missing.
Yeah.
Is the element of, hey, we can disagree, and this is literally what revolves around people over politics. Is we can disagree, yell at each other, let it all out, and let it all on the table, and move on.
Yep.
Like let's get back to providing high quality customer service to our to our customers, which is the citizens really.
You want the insurance warranty with that TV for 1 year?
Exactly.
But
Hey, just your business.
exactly.
Are you looking for a full time?
Ooh, I might be. Well, Justin, I appreciate you sitting down and giving me the opportunity. I know this is, like I said, been 4 or 5 months in the making, but thank you. This was a good conversation.
Seriously, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
And I just want to end it too with any of the players in this game that want to come in and speak their side of the story that he's talked about you. I'm getting back into podcasting after a pretty big hiatus with some personal stuff I've talked about on the podcast, but I am planning to release at least 1 episode a week. So if there's anybody else that wants to come on from this story and just say their side of the thing, I'm more than happy to have him on to refute what he said, and I'm willing to have a conversation about it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Gotcha.
Thank you.